Your microphones are live.
It'd be a good night.
Okay, at this time, could everyone take your seats, please?
Big crowd.
If
I'm loaded, so I don't have to worry about my question.
Thank you.
Great.
At this time, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and I'd like to have the invocation at this time. Would Pastor John Anderson from the Bay Presbyterian Church please come forward? Everyone rise.
Thank you. And the prayer that I would offer this evening is the prayer that was used to begin our first Continental Congress back in the 18th century from the Reverend Jacob Duché. I've adapted it and excerpted it. Let us pray. O Lord, our Heavenly Father, high and mighty King of kings and Lord of lords, who does from your throne behold all the dwellers on earth, and reigns with power supreme and uncontrolled over all the kingdoms, empires, and governments. Look down in mercy, we beseech thee, on these our American states and this our fair city. Take them, Heavenly Father, under your nurturing care. Give them wisdom and counsel. Be thou present, O God of wisdom, and direct the counsels of this honorable assembly. Enable them to settle things on the best and surest foundation. Preserve the health of their bodies and vigor of their minds. Shower down on them and the many they represent here such temporal blessings as you see expedient for them in this world, and crown them with everlasting glory in the world to come. All this we ask in the name and through the merits of Jesus Christ, your Son, our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Councilman Slika, could you please lead us in the pledge?
In honor, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilman McIntosh. Here. Councilwoman Martin. Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Mayor
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Councilman Simmons.
Here.
Councilwoman Simons.
Here.
Councilman Longcart.
Here.
Okay, as I explained earlier, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor.
Oh, you can do better than that. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes. All right, tonight we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and do the proclamations first, if we could. And at this time, could we go ahead and have our sheriff's officers, our great community policing officers and sheriff's officers, please come forward.
Good to see you, sir. Give me my seat. Yep.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Sergeant.
My name is Jeff Dektis, and I'm actually the community policing sergeant for the night shift here in Bonita Springs. And I'm going to throw a little tidbit in here. You guys have a great opportunity here. You got the Bonita Springs Community Policing Unit, and it's a great group of guys. If you have problems in your neighborhood, I'd say this everywhere I go, make sure you call. Nothing's too small. We got all those ears and eyes out there that can help us and bring us along here. You know, we're trying to fight crime. We can't be everywhere in one spot, right? So we want everybody to get out there and do the things they need to do, and that's kind of where we are with that. So now that my little spiel is over with, on behalf of Sheriff Scott and Captain Shane Hinkson, I'd like to welcome everyone here. So if you don't know what we're doing here, I'm going to give you a little idea. I talk with my hands. I'm Greek. I'm sorry. So if I drop the microphone, don't be alarmed. Here's what we got going on. Back in December, we have a Christmas project every year the community policing unit does. What makes it so nice is we would go out, we would support families, find families in need, and we took those under our wing and took them gifts. And that was kind of the way we did things for quite some time here. This year, Lieutenant Prez-Belusky, who could not be here tonight, and Dan Markovich, one of our officers, decided, you know what, let's shake things up and involve education in this a little bit. So we went ahead and had an essay contest within the schools, within the elementary schools. Of those essay contests, we actually had 800 entries into the contest, which I thought was great. Exactly. And with those 800, what happened was we brought all our guys in, 15 guys, sat them all at the table, divvied them all up and said, start reading. And we did. We read through each one of them. And of those 800 essays, we picked 10 winners that we felt really understood the meaning of Christmas and what that meant to them and their families. And they are some great essays, to say the least. Those winners actually got a $200 shopping spree at Target. We took them. It was a great time. We had a great day with them. You know, it just goes to show you that some of these kids are just so smart nowadays. I mean, I probably couldn't even do the 4th grade math, I'll be honest with you. And our teachers and our administrators, they helped us out tremendously. It really was a pleasure to work with everyone. So what we're going to do tonight is we decided, you know what, the sheriff wanted to get involved in this. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here this evening, so Captain Hinkson came along. We wanted to make sure that they got a little something to remember that by. Not just that essay, but we all actually had certificates made up for them that are signed by the sheriff and by the mayor, Mayor Nelson, and so that's what we're handing out tonight. They're actually getting those essays along with their certificates. All right, are we good with that? There we go. All right, I'm going to pass this off to Dan Markovich, and Dan's going to read out the names, and if the kids would just come on up here, and the administrator from that school, the representative, and we'll get your certificates to you. Here you go, Dan.
All right. Well, this first school we did was Spring Creek Elementary. So we'll start with the kindergarten winner, which is Che Giambo. Put your hands together for him, guys. And we're going to bring up his brother, who also won in 4th grade, Tony Giambo. Come on up, guys. Guys, come over here.
Yeah, he said yes. Dad's going to stay back there and take a picture.
You want me to take? Are you guys going to call all of them one picture or one each?
One at a time.
Hold that. There we go. Good job.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Ready? Right here. Hey!
Look up there. Real quick note with this family, we, as Sergeant Dectus said, we had over 800 essays. They were spread out all across our office. We did not look at names. We did not look at names of boys, girls. We just really picked the very best ones, and it just so happened that kindergarten and 4th grade brothers won on their own. So that's just wonderful. All right, our next winner, our 1st grade representative from Spring Creek is Brianna Espinoza. Come on up, Brianna. Give her a hand. Brianna, are we, oh, there we go. All right. Come on up, Brianna.
Check out the shoes.
Sweetheart.
Those are nice.
Oh my God.
How are you? Put it for the mayor's face.
Wouldn't you guys be going?
All right, our next, thank you. For our 2nd grade, Spring Creek Elementary 2nd grade winner is Paulina Lopez. Come on up, Paulina.
Which car did you drive here?
Right here.
All right, give her a big round of applause. And last but not least, our 3rd grade winner from Spring Creek, Maria Aguilar. Is Maria here? Yes, come on up, Maria.
Ready, Maria? Look right here. Ready?
And I want to say a special thank you to Mrs. Valerie Scheckler, Assistant Principal for Spring Creek. She helped put this all together with us. So. All right, and our other elementary school we did was Bonita Springs Elementary. If Assistant Principal Jamie Browder could come up here along with our kindergarten winning representative, Pedro Matias. Pedro. And also coming up with him, give a round for our 1st grade winner, Martin Saquic. Come on up, guys. Pedro, where's Pedro? There we go.
Change out.
Martine, there we go. We got it right.
All right, boys. Look right
Big
here, okay?
smile.
Big smiles. Smile. One more. Look right here. Okay. It's okay.
All right. Give him a round of round of applause. Our second grade winner from Bonita Springs, Miss Marcia Foreman. Come on up, Marcia. Congratulations. Big smile. Congratulations. Our third grade winners, Bonita Springs, Yvonne Rodriguez. Yvonne. Come on up, sweetheart. Congratulations. Oh, one more. Got one for mom and dad. All right, we got it. Here, smile, big, real big.
All right, hopefully I do this right.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, and last but not least, our fourth grade winner, Enrique Carrillo. Come on down, Enrique. Good job, buddy. Congratulations. Go ahead, right in there.
Ready?
So we just wanted to thank all the wonderful students for putting in, and congratulations to the winners. This is such a success. We are definitely doing this again next year, and I believe we're going to include some more elementary schools as well. So just wanted to again thank Bonita Springs Elementary Assistant Principal Jamie Browder, along with Miss Valerie Scheckler of Spring Creek. Thank you very much.
Wow, it's fun, wasn't it? Nice job. And thank you, our community policing officers, sheriff's department. Nice job. All right, well, wait a second here. And now at this time, we have another proclamation. Oh, wait a minute.
Everything's running smoothly.
That's what we like.
Steinmeier. Yeah, we still have to load it. No, I can figure it out. You know
Okay, at this time, we have someone else in the audience here who's been a very, very good young lady. Would Christine Ross, would you please come up here with the Chamber of Commerce? As you can tell, she's graduated. Very, very bright young lady. We're really proud of our Chamber of Commerce here, and they've worked really hard and always worked really hard. But in this year in particular, in this kind of economic climate, they were able to get a 5-star accreditation, one of the very few in the United States to do so. But, right now, please give the Chamber a hand and Christy a hand. Thank you so much. I'm going to read this proclamation, and then Christine will actually tell you what that means. So, whereas the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has awarded the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce with the 5-star accreditation, and whereas the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce is one of just 77 chambers to enjoy 5-star rating out of 7,000 chambers in the United States. Pretty nice. And whereas earning the 5-star accreditation means that the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce has demonstrated excellence in leadership, strong business practices, community contributions, advocacy efforts, and the remaining current with industry best practices. And whereas the City of Bonita Springs commends the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce for its dedication and hard work in achieving the 5-star accreditation, now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Ben Nelson Jr., on behalf of the City Council and citizens, do hereby proclaim the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce and honor them in achieving the 5-star accreditation. Christine, thank you so much for the way you honor our community.
Ben. You don't have anything to say? Pardon, can you move? There's a truck waiting.
I just want to thank the City Council and the Mayor and the City Manager for giving us this recognition. It's really important to us to make sure that we're providing the very best services for our small businesses here in this community. And we're gratified that we're able to do that, and want you to know that we continue to operate at the highest levels for your benefit. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Christine.
Everybody gets a picture.
Here's the Tori. Very fun. It's going to be my Christmas card.
Maybe Halloween. I don't know. There's a blue BMW convertible. We won't look when you leave, okay? We promise. There's a blue BMW convertible that's parked by, what does that say?
By the post office.
By the post office. Oh, that was easy. Yeah, that's parked in an inappropriate place. Okay, I think they just left. Never mind. All right, no embarrassment. Okay, here we go. What are we doing now? Who is this?
Isn't it? Yeah, presentation proclamation.
Is there a representative of the Bonita Springs Utilities here this time? Come on forward. One or more. No, it's not you, Ron.
There were 3, but one had to go move his
Oh, was he? He gets a special award. As all of you know, Bonita Springs Utilities has been really the backbone of this community, has allowed us to become what we are, really, in so many ways. Provide us with clean water and with a clean bay and waterway there by way of the sewer system, and allowing all these septic tanks that were in Bonita Springs long ago to go away, which was a great thing. So special thanks to them. They've been in this community for quite a long time. And I'd like to read this proclamation. They are award-winning as well. Whereas the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has honored Bonita Springs Utilities with the 2012 Plant Operations Excellence Award for the East Water Reclamation Facility. And where the Bonita Springs Utilities was one of 7 statewide winners, recognized as examples of their best water treatment and conservation solutions the state has to offer. And whereas the winning facilities go through a rigorous judging process in addition to demonstrating excellence during unannounced inspection visits throughout the year. And whereas the City of Bonita Springs commends the Bonita Springs Utilities for its dedication and hard work in achieving this 2012 Plant Operations Excellence Award, now therefore I, Ben Nelson, Mayor of the Bonita Springs City Council, and all the citizens here in Bonita Springs do hereby honor this utility in achieving the 2012 Plant Operations Excellence Award. Thank you so much for everything you do, and please give them a big hand. No.
That's it.
He's done.
Okay. Okay, we have one other thing. Is the Special Events Committee here? Would you like to come forward? Yes. They have a special announcement to make. Oh, the entire committee's here. Nice. Are you the speaker?
With the Special Events Committee works year-round to provide excellence and entertainment for all of us. And with the diligent and incredibly hard work of Laura and Patrick, we would like to make the announcement tonight that we have signed an agreement with a very popular band for Celebrate Bonita this year. Do you know the song, Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not?
I'm willing to learn it.
I like that. Well, that's just one of their first songs that made the top hit. They've had several others. We'd like to let you know at this time that we have signed Thompson Square as our headliner for Celebrate Bonita this year. We're really, really excited about it. The date is going to be April 13th. And I want you to remember that all of the proceeds from the food and the sale of the adult beverages and children's beverages all go to support the Bonita Springs Assistance Office and all the good work that they do in our community. So on behalf of all of us, we want to thank you, Mayor Ben, and the City Council for supporting us and allowing us to do this by giving us the money to do it, and our sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. All our committees work really, really well together, and they work so hard, but this committee in particular does such great things. Thank you so much.
And it's free.
And it's free. Okay, we're done there, right?
Well,
Sir.
Good.
not expensive. This was supposed to be our easy meeting.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to invite Lee County Supervisor of Elections, Sharon Harrington, to please come forward. Hello, Sharon.
Good evening.
And she's going to give us a presentation regarding the electoral process. Please, everybody give her a hand for coming here tonight. Please, thank you so much.
Now, I've got a couple pretty hard acts to follow. All that presentations and everything, they're just amazing. So hopefully I won't bore everybody with my presentation. I'd like to thank the mayor, Mayor Nelson, and the members of the Bonita Springs Council for asking me to be on the agenda to address issues that transpired during the 2012 general election in Lee County. All too often when situations like this arise, those of us on the ground and in the trenches are often overlooked as sources for the facts of what happened and for workable solutions to the problems. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I told our state legislators during the recent hearings that I sincerely believed that if we all worked together, we would be able to avoid any reoccurrences of the problems we encountered, find doable solutions to fix those problems, and restore confidence in our voting processes, not only here in Lee County, but in the whole state of Florida. I've been with the Lee County Elections Office since 1989, starting out as the fiscal officer. So I have a lot of experience in budgeting and the financial requirements of the office elections. I've been involved with the physical requirements of conducting elections for the same 23 years. When preparing for either one, whether it's planning a budget or planning for an election, you plan for what you believe you will need based upon past histories and forward trends. Planning for the 2012 election was no different. So then why did this year end up like it did, when all the previous elections went on without any major hitches? And let me tell you all that there is no such thing as a perfect election, but we try to make it the best we can. I had to ask myself what made this election any different from all the others. After attending several conferences over the past month, I found that I wasn't the only one pondering this very question. Elections officials from all over the United States were probing their brains for answers to these same questions. When the dust settled and we had an opportunity to take time to reflect, it was obvious to us that it wasn't just one issue or another. It was a combination of things that could have contributed to our perfect storm election. During my meeting with the Secretary of State and the representative and the presentations given to the House and the Senate Elections and Ethics Committees during the recent hearings, those areas of concern that affected Lee County were openly discussed, and I feel very well received by all. The three major ones that we talked about, along with many others, are the following. And I need to get a drink of water because it's warm in here. You should never give me a mic. The first one, in the 2012 general election was the first major election that we held using our new precinct boundaries after the recent census. The trends in voting were showing more utilization in early voting and ballots by mail as popular methods for voting. In 2008, 2/3 of all voters in Lee County voted early, either by mail or during early voting before the polls ever opened. And Lee County had an 86% turnout. When doing our redistricting in an effort to lower election expenditures, like almost all 67 counties did in the state of Florida, we reduced the number of our precincts from 171 to 125, with an overall average of about 2,900 voters per precinct, some a little larger, some a little smaller. Were we overzealous in our attempt to reduce the number of precincts and cut expenses? Possibly, but I was getting a lot of pressure from the county commissions to do so. I am currently reviewing a report that has broken down by precinct how many people voted in that precinct and by what method, mail, early voting, or at the polls. There may be precincts where the majority of the voters cast their ballots by mail, and then there could be some where early voting is the preferred method. Of course, we don't have a crystal ball, and we can never tell how many people will go and early vote. We can keep track of ballots by mail because of the requests coming in. So there might be a little variance, but it does set a trend. Studying this type of activity will give us a better picture of the preferences for voting by each polling location, and will make adjustments accordingly. We've already added an extra precinct down in Fort Myers Beach and one in Sanibel. We found out that during spring, when most of our seasonal people are here, they ditched their ballots by mail and decided to go to the polls, which of course caused a backup and less mail ballots coming in. The second area was a shorter number of early voting days and limitation on sites that can be used in another area that we will be addressing and looking at very closely. Even though we offered 12 hours per day of early voting, we still had long lines every day. There were too many restrictions on the sites that we can use. We can only use our main office, branch offices that have been in existence for a year, city halls, and public libraries. City halls. I don't think you want me tying up your city hall for 14 days, or even 8 days with 12 hours of straight voting. There are too many restrictions on these sites, too many limitations. If we had more options available in the places that could be used, we would be able to serve our voters more efficiently. However, that being said, expanding the total number of sites currently being used will take additional funding to cover the increased costs of those additional sites. The third area was the extremely long ballots, resulting in multiple ballot pages that not only affected the time that it took to scan at the precincts on election day, but also in other areas of the elections process, such as longer time to design and lay out the ballot format so that it made sense and it was all in the right order. Problems for our vendors who were stuffing and mailing our absentee ballot envelopes. They were so thick for the size of the envelope, they ended up having to do a lot of manual stuffing, which made our ballots go out a lot later than they should have. Increased postage costs in mailing those ballots. Increased postage expense for the voters to mail them back. Printing and mailing sample ballots. Slower processing of voters during early voting with the ballot on demand printers having to print 4 pages instead of only 2 or 3. Securing and storage of tons of ballots prior to the final certification was also a problem. We have limited space that can be secured, so we need to be looking into those areas. These are just a few of the factors that I believe led to the long lines during early voting, as well as long lines on election day for the voters in Lee County. I want to remind you that these issues are not, and I put not in capital letters, and there's a copy of my presentation so you can see it. These are not unique to Lee County or to the state of Florida for that matter. Problems of a similar nature were encountered all over this country, and Lee County and Florida were not the last ones to get our results in. The first thing we need to do is to make sure that we do not have a repeat of this magnitude in any future elections. And that can be done by making changes to the existing election code and statutes and rules that currently govern the conduct of the elections in the state. Contrary to popular belief, I have a lot of power, but I don't have that much power. I still have to abide by all the laws and rules that are written for the conduct of elections. After reading the recommendations to the governor and the Elections and Ethics Committee by our Secretary of State, Ken Detzner, just this week, I'm confident that the changes will be made in the 2013 legislative session, and that they will have a very direct impact on addressing and correcting many of the existing problems and restoring voter confidence in our election systems. I went through the liberty, in case you did not see that report, of making copies of it for each of the council members, and there are maybe a few extra. And if you will see Diane, she will be able to give you one until they run out. So you can make copies of them. But I think if you read that, you'll see all of the issues that were discussed during our hearings. And we were very, very pleased to see that somebody was listening. I think it will restore our voter confidence. I think people will feel a lot more comfortable when it's all said and done. They gave us a seat at the table, finally. We're one of the last people that are ever invited to help write election laws. They asked questions and intently and with sincere interest listened to what we had to say. And by Jove, I think they got it. The second thing that is paramount to avoiding any repeated issues is funding. Adding more early voting sites, purchasing more supplies and equipment for the sites and the polls, and hiring additional poll workers is going to cost money. I've already had the opportunity to meet with County Manager Doug Maurer and Assistant County Manager Pete Winton to discuss Lee County's elections issues, and that we may need monetary assistance as we move forward. I was asked if there was going to be any state appropriations to help bolster our inventory. No. We have the ability to get about $97,000 in federal grant money, but that's really about it. There was no specific amount discussed at this time. We'll be doing that a little bit later on. But actual expenditures that will be required will be presented after all of the reviews and studies of the 2012 election are concluded. Another area I was able to address with our county management team was a larger space for our Bonita Springs branch office. I have been asking for 5 years to get me a better office. I told them this time I cannot and will not conduct early voting under the circumstances that we've had to do that for the last 3 years, with everybody having to stand outside. It's just not fair to the voters. I'm pleased to say that the county staff has already gotten on it, and we will be looking at a suitable variety of properties as early as next week. So thank goodness they're finally listening, and thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much.
I will open the floor for any questions if you have any.
All right, good. Council, do you have any questions? Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Sharon, again, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. The First Baptist Church in Bonita Springs, I don't know if you know this, but is this accurate that if you have 3,500 registered voters, you will get 2 scanning machines?
Yes, and what we did with the equipment that we did have for the election, there seemed to be some confusion. Even our state senator, when we were doing our presentations, wanted to know why I didn't put out into the field on election day the several hundred scanners that I had sitting in my warehouse. And I asked her later where she got that number, but I don't know if she heard me or she just didn't want to answer. We only really had about 15. Once we cut down our precincts from 172 to 125, we took the extra machines and gave them to the precincts that had 3,500 or more. But there wasn't enough to go to every single precinct that had that many people.
Okay.
We did have to keep some in reserve.
Okay.
We kept 15. Actually, we deployed an extra 5 when the line started getting extremely long in some of the areas. So that left us with 10. We had 5 that completely failed and had to be replaced before the polls closed. And we didn't dare put out any more unless one of the other ones would have gone before everybody had an opportunity to vote.
Yeah.
So we held on to 5. We definitely need more. We were only given so much when we had to transition to the optical scan system from our touch screens by the state. We were given just a limited amount, and that's what we've been working with. So the county realizes they're going to have to bolster
Yes,
that.
because when I voted at First Baptist, there was some technology difficulties with the machine, and you sat there and you waited and waited and waited. But I think the most frustrating thing for me was the people that I saw actually leave the line, said, "The heck with this! I'm not waiting here, not 3 hours more." And also for people like I went early in the morning, but then I said, you know what am I doing here with this long line? Let the people who are going to work give an opportunity to vote first. But that line was just as long from morning to 9 o'clock.
It didn't stop, and it didn't stop during early voting either. It was just a constant. We're going to start looking at other ways besides having 2 machines at every precinct and 3 in some of the larger, if we can get enough money gathered together, because those are not inexpensive at all. Those pieces of machinery are not inexpensive, but that's our goal. We would like to have at least 2 in every precinct and 3 in the larger ones. If we don't use it, that's fine, but if we need it, it'll be there.
Yeah, I did want to just final comment is just that I thought that the individuals that were working there and training, I mean, that was a long day for them, and I thought they were very, very nice under the circumstances, so.
They were under a lot of pressure there.
A lot of pressure there.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
And I'll tell you publicly, there is no way that we could hold elections without our wonderful poll workers. They worked very, very hard during the 12-hour of early voting. It wasn't 12 hours, it's 12 hours of early voting. But for them, they had to be there at 6:30 in the morning, and they couldn't leave until the last person voted, which on the last day was about 10:30 at night. So we're talking 15 hours for 8 days straight. They were amazing. I couldn't do it without them. I am truly blessed.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Yeah, go ahead, Martha.
Yeah, Ms. Harrington, so nice of you to come here. Thank you. I truly respect what you have to do, and I knew from the start, back during the primary, that there were going to be some problems because you have new people in Tallahassee who I think never did a presidential election like this before. So kudos to you for keeping your cool. But I worked over at Precinct 61, formerly, 80. Well, anyhow, that's what the problem was for those folks, was that we had an old 61, and the people who were in old 61 were coming there, as well as the new 61 people, and everybody was converging. I kind of played unofficially outside what street you live on, and that might be something to, in such situations, to help kind of clear it before they even get to the door.
We need to get the word out more, and we do try, of course. We let everybody know well ahead that with the redistricting and reprecincting that their polling place may change. And the media was very, very good about repeating that over and over again. Go on our website, phone call, whatever you need to do. And then we sent every single registered voter a new card.
Yeah. Well,
every single registered voter, I'm sure, didn't read it.
You're
so I know
right.
there was
You're
a lot of
absolutely right.
crossovers. And I think over time, with people getting used to where their new precinct is, that's not going to happen. And we just had an election. We had a polling location. I just found out today, it wasn't in Bonita, it's in another area. Just found out today that they no longer will let us use that facility.
Oh, gosh.
So now I got to change them again. And when we have to constantly keep changing polling locations, it gets very difficult.
Well,
but
and
we're going to try to get the word out a little bit more. Any suggestions that anybody has, we would be able maybe put it on your TV station for each of the cities, something like that, but just to let people know.
Well, here's a suggestion. And when you make a change like that, maybe don't have the same numbers, because it was a totally different area with the same numbers as the other area. And so I think that was part of the confusion. I read in the newspaper, don't believe everything you read, but
Please.
but that you had returned money to the Lee County BOCC the previous year, And I think probably everybody in this room would agree that our democracy is so precious that that's one thing we don't want to skimp on. So, you know, if you need letters of support to get more money, we're happy to do it. And frankly, I like the City Hall location. That
Well,
could
let
be
me just explain
that would be
about
nice.
the money, 'cause there's a-
Yeah, let me just
Go
finish
ahead.
up, and then you can have the floor.
Then I'll let you know about the money.
I want to hear about the money. I had a neighbor down the street who's visually impaired, and she was having some problems because she had turned in her driver's license, and then she couldn't get it because she changed it. Complicated, okay? So she called up for an absentee ballot, and I was right with her because I had to dial the phone. She couldn't see the phone. So I dialed for her, and she requested a ballot, and they said, oh, go out on Wednesday. By Monday the next, and it was, you know, one of those last-minute jobs, they told her she never requested an absentee ballot, so I had to drive up to Fort Myers for her with an affidavit and bring it back and then drive it back so it would get in. When I was there were a lot of people who had the same problem. What happened?
If we were putting absentee requests in until almost midnight on the last day of requests that were coming in. I'd have to look at each as individual. I know that we had mega problems with the mail delivery. The initial batch of absentee ballots that went out just prior to the election, about 30, 35 days, 40 days prior to the election, about 56,000 of them we sent out as a nonprofit. We'll never, ever, ever, ever do that again.
No.
The post office has us where they would like to have us. If we do not send our ballots out from now on first class,
You don't know who gets
it'll
your
take
turn.
10 to 15 days locally to get to the person. So we stopped doing it. The minute we found out how long it was taking for those ballots to get to the voters, we changed anything else that went out after that was first class. And even with first class, they were taking 5 days. And now they're not going to be doing any deliveries on Saturday. So that's going to add again. So there's always a little bit of an issue. We're trying to find better ways of making sure that we have the order. A lot of online, you can go online and check, or someone can go online for this person and check and see what the status is, that we did get it when it went out and when it was due back.
Well, I know you're very dedicated to what you do. I've worked with you, and you have an excellent staff, and the poll workers are, you know, wonderful. I'd love to see the state consider having shifts. You know, so you have your morning shift. I know it sounds complicated, but if you had, because of chain of command, but if you had a morning shift, it's very hard to find people who want to work from 5:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night, or who have the stamina and also the mental energy to be able to keep up with that, keep cool, keep calm, especially in the conditions that you had.
That was brought up several times, and we thought about it. No, there isn't any jurisdictions right now that do that. For the main reason is that if we need 1,800 poll workers, then we'll need 3,600 poll workers.
But you might get 'em.
And it's very difficult. If anybody in the audience would like to be a poll worker, we do pay. Speaking of money, we do pay.
I do.
But seriously, we would have to have twice what we have now, and it's so hard. I think you know, you've been with us long enough, and she's served on the canvassing board for the city and so forth. But let me explain about the money that I gave back.
Thanks.
Ever since
Easy. Let's all be patient, shall we?
Since 1989, we've always given money back. And when I mentioned during my press conference that we did give money back, this is money that I cannot spend by law. It's restricted money. It must go back to the county. I just wanted the county to know that everybody else was going to know that they got money back from me. So when I come and knock on your door, you need to make some money available. And I think we're going to be seeing that.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Pete, you got one thing?
Sure. Thank you for coming tonight. And there again, don't believe everything you read in the newspapers, but was Lee County one of 5 counties that were heavily scrutinized after the Election Day?
Yes, we got the pleasure of the personal visit from the Secretary of State, and we got invited to the hearings. But also at the hearings, they also invited other counties that were small counties, medium counties, and large, because they had to understand that one size does not fit all, and they need to give us more flexibility. But Lee County
And the
was
basis of being one of the 5 counties visited?
the long lines,
Along lines?
basically,
Because
for early voting and for at the polls.
Right. I mean, because I do know people were still voting after the president had been declared winner, the U.S. Senate race, congressional race, all the races have been called.
Right.
People are watching TV and still going in to vote.
Out of the 125 precincts, 31 of them closed after 10 o'clock. 40 some closed before 8. So there were just a few in the middle. We had about 31 that was well after 10.
Right, right. Well, I mean, it goes without saying, you've got a tall task. I mean, Lee County voters deserve better. Bonita Springs voters deserve better. And now, here for the second time of the 2 of the past 4 presidential elections, Florida has been cast in the national spotlight in a negative way. So I applaud your efforts. We have a long way to go.
Their votes.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. We look forward to working with you, okay? Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask one of the representatives from Palmyra, my friend Frank, would you come forward, please?
What's everybody doing?
Oh. All right, everyone, I'm going to explain something. I always let you have one of those, okay? From now on, we're all going to just keep our cool, okay? Or we'll have a fire drill and find out how fast we can get all out of here. Okay, Frank, go ahead. And Frank,
disappointed that we haven't got another proclamation for our community and we don't get our picture taken, Mr. Mayor. But
there will be no picture taking of you today, my friend.
For those of you in the council, my name is Frank Prococo. I live at Palmyra. I'm a representative of the community tonight. And we have an issue of concern that we want to bring forward you. And I'd like to say also, Mr. Mayor, council members, and city staff, we really appreciate the opportunity to bring this before you for your consideration and help. Okay? The issue involves a development that abuts our property on Bonita Beach Road. It's north of our property and west of our property. Part of that development is an agenda item for you to consider tonight regarding zoning of a piece of that. I would say that it's a serious issue of concern to all of our residents, as you can possibly see here.
We gathered that.
It goes back to January 15th. I attended, along with some of our representatives, the zoning board hearing on this issue. And we had no objection to a change in zoning for a parcel that's yet to be sold to... Okay.
Easy.
We had no objection to a change in zoning from commercial to residential on a 3.6 acre parcel in this development, yet to be conveyed to the developer, D.R. Horton. Okay. And that was January 15th. We became aware at that meeting that a development order had been issued and approved to Horton, which we did not even know about. Now, prior to this time, we had been in discussions with Horton. We even requested a meeting with city staff on this some months back. And Horton, I have a couple of handouts here for you.
Diane?
Over here, Frank.
And Frank, you can just hand them to Audrey and she'll take care of that for you.
Let me give you, there should be 6.
I gotta make sure.
There's 6 of each of these.
Okay.
This one and this one.
I can share.
Should be 6 there.
Okay, I'll share. If not, they'll share.
Right, I get more.
Okay. Did this to you, Debbie?
What our concern primarily is a traffic bottleneck and the impact on our community from an entrance that's been proposed on the south side of this project, if I can call it that. Okay? It abuts a park that we have, and next to that park, included within that park, we have a children's playground. Across the street from this park area, okay, what we have is our Renaissance Center. Okay, the Renaissance Center is a focal point of social activities and athletic activities within our community. I mean, any time of the day you go by there, you'll see people walking, dogs on leashes, bicycles, and things of this nature. We're concerned about the fact that by allowing an entrance on the south side of this development, the southwest side, it's going to draw traffic in our main entrance and bring it around through this area that's frequent by an awful lot of pedestrian traffic, okay? And it's not consistent, in our opinion, with the interchange that really should exist there. The southwest entrance, as I said to you, became a complete surprise. Now, if you've got one of these, if you're looking at it, I've highlighted that spot on this. I've highlighted that spot on this, hastily put together presentation. And you can see coming through here where the traffic comes in our entrance this way, okay, goes through into that situation. Now, some of our residents have questioned, well, why wouldn't they use Bonita Beach Road? We don't know the answer to that. You probably do, okay? We have proposed another location for this entrance with no positive response at all, okay? Trying to think what else I can say to you about this. One of the things that caused us confusion when this development order, when we became aware of the development order being issued, was if you look at this other map here, okay, this was done by D.R. Horton, and it shows on our east entrance 2 entrances coming in this way. Doesn't involve coming down through this area and in, okay? So I would like to say that the Renaissance Center area, if we can refer to that, in the park area that we have, is very attractive. It makes a very nice presentation coming in and so on. And I can't blame them for wanting to use that as a facility, maybe for their marketing efforts or whatever. Okay, but it seems to me that from what we know about the situation, once the development order has been issued, then somehow it would take probably someone from D.R. Horton to recommend a deviance, and we've got to find a way to get them to cooperate with us.
I got you. And so that, to help you sum up there, that's what we were really asking for, is
exactly
for the city to try to facilitate that effort between our staff and between that applicant to go ahead in that land development
It
order
seems
to make
that makes the most common sense.
Okay.
Okay, to be honest with you. And it seems that, well, if we could come up with some kind of an amenable solution to this whole thing with them, it would really benefit everybody concerned. I know that the emails that are coming into us every day from our residents, and we have 821 front doors within Palmyra, okay, are tremendous. Everybody is really concerned. And for example, I might even add that there have been occasions where we've used this roadway in between our park and the Renaissance Center, okay, under permit. We've blocked it off, and we use it for functions even, for the community. Sure. So, I also should state that this is basically managed and operated by our Master Homeowners Association, okay? So it's not a commercial development, so to speak, on its own, okay? And now with the zoning changes, the whole project now is is residential and, a master association operation as far as we're concerned.
All right,
So,
Frank, thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm sure that we're going to try to encourage everyone to, you got a beautiful community. Let's see if we can keep it that way, all right?
Exactly.
All right, thank you very much. And at this time, I'll ask the representative from San Remo to come up, please.
Thank you for hearing us. My name is Steve Kelsky, and I'm the treasurer of the San Remo at Palmyra Homeowners Association, representing my community.
And before they yell at you, I'm going to ask you to speak into the microphone, okay?
Okay. I don't want to pop it too much, so
Yeah, don't worry,
you tell me when to
that's
stop. Okay. I ask that my comments be read into the record, and I am providing copies for the convenience of staff. In fact, I've already done so. Since we first learned of D.R. Horton's plans for the development of Sorrento, we have had serious concerns about the impact of additional traffic on our community. San Remo is a 351-unit development. We're about 40% the size of Palmyra, adjacent to Palmyra and Sorrento both. Unlike some communities east of I-75, San Remo has residents of many age groups. A large percentage of our community members are employed, have 2 or more cars, and many of our residents have children who ride on the school buses that stop at our gate. Thus, traffic flow and safety are of extreme concern to us. We are not opposed to the presence of Sorrento, and in fact, indicated to Horton's construction manager that we want to be good neighbors. From San Remo's perspective, it is far preferable to have a residential community in that area than an empty lot. And it's equally preferable than having a half-empty strip mall. which we would have had otherwise. In fact, our board voted to allow a change to a drainage easement in order to enable Horton to proceed with a course of construction which they preferred, and would enable them to put a wall around the property, something I think everybody would like to have seen. Despite that gesture of goodwill on our part, and which we have granted, they refused to consider the addition of a right turn lane at their main gate, which is located on Mattiati View, and did not alter their plans to accommodate this lane when resubmitting their application for a development order. So you know, San Remo's only gate is located directly on Mattiati View, south of the Sorrento development, and north of Palmyra's East Gate. So traffic comes down both to San Remo and to Palmyra. Virtually all the traffic to our community comes from Bonita Beach Road, turns onto Mattiati View, and then uses a left turn lane to approach our gates. Evidently, the planners at the time Palmyra and our community were laid out felt that anticipated traffic volume necessitated a left turn lane just coming into our community, most likely for access and safety of traffic. A similar need now exists for a right turn lane at the new main gate for Sorrento, which is on the way to our community, and should be even more justified based on the impact of additional traffic, especially from visitors to Sorrento, because this is the visitors' entrance as well. If there should be a long queue of vehicles trying to enter Sorrento's main gate, especially larger commercial vehicles, it is possible that any vehicles driving southbound on Mattiati View, including cars, trucks, school buses, or emergency vehicles, may be blocked. And sometimes that could be a real problem from a time standpoint. We made our concerns known to the Community Development Department prior to the granting of the development order, and provided them with traffic statistics directly from our gate systems and from the gate systems of the East Gate at Palmyra, which show a high traffic volume, in fact, as many as 170 or more cars per hour. Apparently, that seems to be in excess of the traffic study numbers which were entertained by the Community Development Department. Unfortunately, the Community Development Department did not require a right turn lane to be placed at the Sorrento main gate, despite this information. The City Council will be hearing tonight of zoning changes which will likely result in Horton acquiring an additional 3+ acres of land for approximately 40 more homes. This would further exacerbate the traffic volume problem, especially if the Sorrento gates continued to be implemented as approved. We join Palmyra in asking that serious and timely consideration be given to the movement of the main gate entrance to Bonita Beach Road, perhaps as a condition of approving the zoning change.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to warn you that you're starting to get into the part where you're talking about this zoning, and that is not allowed because there is no one here to rebut your testimony.
Okay, I will not say any more about it. I just
thank you so much.
All I can say is that if no alternative is determined to be practical, then San Remo would be satisfied at minimum if the council will cause placement of the right turn lane at the Mattiati View Sorrento gate, which is not there now. And that's a real problem for us.
Understood.
Because construction is proceeding at a rapid pace, and I will not mention the other business coming up, we ask the City Council and staff act expeditiously to deal with the aforementioned matters, and we look forward to continued community involvement in making sure that both Palmyra's and San Remo's traffic concerns are satisfactorily addressed. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'll be happy to provide any information you need, including supporting traffic statistics or anything else.
Good. And everyone, thank you so much for coming here tonight. I want to thank the two gentlemen. They were so good to meet with me on this. Our staff is going to work very closely with Horton there and with all of you to try to get something worked out there as best they can.
Well,
okay? So
we'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to allow a little time for everybody that wants to exit the room to go ahead and do so because before we finish the rest of public comment on the agenda items.
Thank you. Oh, us? No, yeah, it's okay.
I'm on the screen. Warming up, sure.
Are you before her? Before her agenda? Before Alexis?
Hold on, June.
Okay, I think so.
Global food vendor.
All I do is try and try.
What are you here for, Jim? Zoning?
Yesterday I was in Atlanta.
Atlanta?
Audrey's gonna read
Hold up
these
there.
two, and then I'm here.
Not Benedict. Behaving yourself?
And she's...
Yeah?
Yeah, you're first, Jen.
Trying is an honest answer, right, for all of us.
She doesn't pay attention.
The memo went out to all council, but I didn't have...
Yeah.
No, we don't have any language, because that's what council would have to decide.
Jeff's fault.
It's in the green sheet backup. Yeah. I mean, there was no language, because it's to be determined by a conversation. That's in the green sheet. Well, I don't think we really... I don't think we need to change anything.
Yes, sir.
Wi-Fi thing going on? I'm not picking up any Wi-Fi.
No, me either.
You're not either?
No.
No, they changed it, John.
They changed the
None of us are
Wi-Fi?
picking
I just need them to understand that it is part of the request. My only concern is that I don't want them to
Well, I'm not
dictate
picking
hours of internal operations for Gatsby's Pizza.
The guest doesn't work either.
Yes.
Right. So,
Okay, no, that's good.
but that's why I didn't want to draft a condition. I didn't really want to change anything. I just wanted to make them aware that they're also asking for administrative approval for indoor for Gatsby's. So, if that makes sense. Because Jackie and I were concerned if we give hours, and that maintains that those hours.
You go to network? Is that what it's called? Bonita 9101?
Right. Well, if people have indoor hours per their state application, yeah.
Bonita,
The
is there a
conditions are
space?
fine.
Right, exactly.
I just checked the
So-
flag.
9101 and then security?
Cafe.
Sorry.
Yep. Jacobson, sorry.
Nope, that's a good sign. You're in a hurry.
Next week, when we'll come to testimony on the zoning. Yeah, February 20th. I was going to offer
We're
some
going to be back, we're still.
Not the
It is
shelter
towering
stuff.
up.
February 25th.
Yeah.
I'm talking about for the, for this thing, for the D.L. Horton case? Yes. Oh, that's related to
But we're going to go back to order real quick
Yes,
here.
not until February 25th. Oh, okay. It's just the first reading tonight.
That's
So
right.
we don't do anything during first reading. Oh, so no public comment during first reading?
Yeah, I was just gonna.
Oh, okay, well then.
How do I get to go off?
Unless
There we
you're
go.
bored. Do you want to see what goes on? No, I've got a lecture.
Okay, at this time, would everyone please take a seat and we'll bring the meeting back to order, please? Okay, and we'll go ahead and begin public comment on agenda items only. Only on agenda items. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
My name's Steve Davis. I reside at 26410 Sunderland Drive, Unit 3206 at Highland Woods Golf and Country Club in Bonita Springs. I'm apologize for the glasses, but 2 eye surgeries. I'm supposed to wear them. I'm here to speak, and I have a commitment for later in the meeting, so I want to speak now. I want to speak strongly in favor of item 12A, a resolution to create administrative code setting forth the economic incentives for business. As a small business person, as a person in the past who was a member of, not in Bonita, but of a community development block grant board of the Small Business Administration Advisory Council, and out in Montana as co-chair in the 70s of the first White House conference ever held on small business. I strongly support that we are going into 2013. We have to compete here in Bonita, not only with other communities and counties in our area, but throughout this hemisphere and beyond. And I'm not saying that we can compete dollar for dollar. I'm sure you and your staff have done the background needed to come up with what you've come up with to this point, and it may, depending on what evolves and comes forth as far as these incentives, you may have to tweak a few things based on a specific business. But my feeling is no change, no change. Change is difficult. I'm so pleased with all the changes that we've seen since Bonita has become a city. Good to see the former mayor here, and thank you very much for your time, and take care. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Next speaker, please, on any agenda item.
Good evening, Council. Tonight you heard a proclamation honoring BSU for their work in reclaiming sewer and stormwater. the reclamation effort deserves praise. In the past, BSU used to dump the water into the bay.
Pardon me, Jude. Could you go ahead and pull the microphone down a little bit so we want to get you on record there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In the past, BSU used to dump the water directly into Estero Bay until the Department of Environmental Protection put a stop to that. What they will not tell you tonight is that BSU charges RCS 34 cents per 1,000 gallons of reclaimed water. RCS then turns around and charges the city $1.89 for the same water, for the same 1,000 gallons of reclaimed water. An obscene profit, I think, 5 times the cost it pays. We, the members, pay BSU $3.66 per 1,000 gallons for sweet water and $3.70 to flush it back to BSU. So we pay and pay and pay. And the nonprofit BSU has a sweetheart deal with RCS, who profits at our expense. I say at our expense because the water is sold to RCS at an artificially low price. Does anyone at BSU profit from this arrangement? Who knows? Is it legal? We don't know. BSU has also been prone to major mistakes, to other major mistakes. One such major mistake is the gross overbuilding of plant and equipment. As a result, we're all paying for this excessive water capacity. Another is a lack of open bidding for a wider water pipe on Michigan Street. A third is the wanton wasting of members' money through publicity printing of glossy 4-color annual reports, calendars, etc., with pictures of select board members. A fourth is the wasting of the public's money by not pushing electronic billing more. Kathleen Walters' aim is to open up communications between BSU and the folks it serves. Simply being for lower rates does not cut it. Kathleen Walters is the only candidate who aims to get to the root cause of BSU problems and to work hard to fix them. To get better service at more reasonable cost, the farce of BSU, a publicly regulated water monopoly masquerading as a public company, must stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Bobby Bird. I currently am the chair of the Bonita Springs Relay for Life, and we are asking council to vote yes on agenda item number D. We really feel that it's imperative that you allow us to have very low volume, magnified, I guess you would call it, but at a very low volume, speaker or amplified music, an acoustic guitar or karaoke, or something of that nature off the stage in between our campsites, which circle the park. It's imperative, excuse me, it really is imperative that we have something like this in order to keep our participants engaged. This is an 18-hour event. It has to be an 18-hour event in order to qualify as a Relay for Life. And it really, it does make a big difference for our participants to be able to communicate with each other and, well, for me to let everybody know what's going on and get them to participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, oops. Oh, carry on.
Yeah. I'm Ashley Smith, Associate Director with American Cancer Society. I work closely with Bobby. She's a volunteer leader for us, and very much would appreciate your approval on being able to have sound for our participants at our event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Kathy McGrath, and of course I ditto what was just said because Bobby works so hard, and I think what we're asking for is necessary. It's not going to be loud, 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 but enough that we can get everyone's attention. We really look to your approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Good evening, Christine Ross again, Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to express support for item 11, the adoption of the color palette for Old 41. I think it's really going to set the tone for the progress that I know everyone is hoping we can make with the redevelopment of that area, so I support that, and I hope you'll pass it this evening. And I wanted to also support item number 12, the administrative code setting forth these economic development incentives. This is an absolute home run complement to all of the other work that the Economic Development Council is doing. It's going to give us extra little bells and whistles that we can offer people. It makes a really big difference when they're trying to decide where to locate. And for a company that's in the early stages of growth, every little bit helps to get them further along the path to that 5-year critical mark. So again, we support that and we applaud you for being creative. The city staff came up with an awesome collection of incentives. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Rick Steinmeier. Boom, bang, crash, boom, boom, hey, hey, sky lights up. Oh, there's fire come down on my patio. Oh, my furniture's burning up. Oh, gee whiz, that's what you get for living on the beach. Get rid of the damn fireworks. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Ron Pure, that's an easy act to follow. I'll speak to you today as both a citizen for about 20 years now of Bonita Springs and also a member of TAG because it involves money. I'd like to speak in opposition to the consent agenda item A, where you are proposing to seek grant money to improve the navigation and water-based activities in our Estero Bay and Spring Creek, and I'm guessing also the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I've got some experience with WCIND, West Coast Inland Navigation District, and that experience goes back many years. And I can tell you that what we don't need at this point, having spent a good deal of time on the water over the years and even just as recently as last week, grandchildren and so on and so forth along for the ride, that we don't need more coverage by the sheriff's office on the bay, in my humble opinion, or not so humble, because I've seen, for instance, activities with a couple of sheriff's representatives located within a few hundred yards of each other, and it would seem as though they could be deployed in other areas. You folks are going to write a grant. We don't know how it's going to end up, whether you get it or not. You're going to commit to receiving that grant and compound it with our local money, and then the likelihood of getting that grant 5 years or 10 years down the road is unlikely. You're coming back real hard on us in these times of appearing to look like we're swinging back, and you're already got the hands out for money, our money. Can I have another couple here?
Yeah,
with
go right
in
ahead,
light
Ron.
of the fact, please?
Good.
Look, Pelican Landing just purchased Coconut Point, as most of you know. We were in the bandwagon for years. What is needed in that area is the following. We need channel dredging in that area. Spring Creek specifically, the mouth of Estero Bay as well, as you leave Spring Creek. We need consideration being given for the acquiring for nothing the responsibility for the channel markers and the channels that Pelican Landing acquired when we purchased that Coconut Point property from WCI just recently. There's a mess out there in many areas, and they have been unattended in any way, shape, or form for years. Again, I urge you to skip the extra shifting of money from one taxpayer entity or tax usurper on our annual tax bill, and take into consideration that we should be spending the money the way it ought to be spent. And by the way, I had a commitment from WCIND a couple of years ago to do this kind of work, and there was an infusion of thinking by Ray Judah, which I think stifled that. There was some interest in accomplishing those things regarding dredging and replacing channel markers, etc. And we never went anywhere. Now I see this. It's too much to bear, folks. Please give us some consideration and don't move forward with this grant writing proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Kathy McGrath, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I am on the Waterways Advisory Committee, and every year grants are put in to the West Coast Inland Navigation Districts, and there are different categories. However, it's not just the city of Bonita Springs. If I'm correct, this grant that you're putting in for is just to pay to have the deputies that are already. Each year we do the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor.
No, you're right.
Am I right? Okay. Each year, and it's not only the city of Bonita, Sanibel, Cape Coral, city of Fort Myers Beach, they all do. They put in the grants, and then you pay the sheriff's department. And it's just for the normal patrolling. This is nothing extra. That's the one thing. Now, as far as the comments that were just made about channel marking and all, dredging and all, the city can't do that. That, again, is done by Lee County. And usually they get the funds from WCIND. And if you all remember, it took us 6 years to get permission to dredge Intrepid Waters. And we partnered, the Imperial River Conservancy partnered with Lee County. And now Justin McBride has gotten a maintenance dredging agreement so that they don't have to go back to DEP. And my best recollection, I won't mention any names, about the problems with marking the channel at Pelican years ago, was someone who was with Estero Bay Management did not want it marked because she thought it would encourage more boat traffic there. And this is the truth. So I think maybe there's some misunderstanding about what this grant is that is mentioned here. And if I'm correct, fine. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else this time like to speak on any agenda item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and carry on here. Next up is the consent agenda. For discussion purposes, I'm going to pull item D. Is there anything else that the council would like to pull before we vote on that?
I'd like to move the balance.
We want to there's a motion to remove the remainder. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to remove the remainder. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons? Aye. Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Okay. Laura. I thought you'd be sitting at the back, very back.
Back there hiding.
She learned that from earlier.
The reason I pulled the item was because that I wanted to be sure that most things that put on the consent agenda are put on there because they've been approved by staff and they recommend consent. This one wasn't, however. Would you like to explain?
We put it at the beginning in order to accommodate those that were coming to support it.
Okay. Okay. And not that exactly, but
I'm
what
sorry.
the permit itself.
The permit, they're asking for overnight sound, amplified music all night long, and it is not in accordance with the noise ordinance, and we don't want to set a precedent with other events trying to apply to have noise overnight, so we're recommending denial.
So you're not recommending denial of the event itself?
No,
but
just of the overnight amplified
just
noise.
for the amplified.
Mhm.
Now, as it stands in the ordinance, what are the times, just for everybody's edification, from how long, from what time to what time can they use amplified?
10
Oh,
p.m.
gee, threw you a curve there, did I?
9 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
8 a.m. to 9 p.m. They can use amplified music, and that's going to be on what day is that going to be on? I'm sorry, just a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. What?
It begins at 2 p.m. on Saturday.
Okay, good.
And ends at 8 a.m. on Sunday.
Okay.
That's April 6th
It's
and
10 p.m. to
7th.
7 p.m.
Yeah, those are not the correct hours.
They can have noise, they're permitted to have noise until 10 p.m.
Right.
and then after 7 a.m.
So from
Amplified
7 a.m. they can have it to 10 p.m.
Mhm.
They can have
Mhm.
amplified music.
Amplified noise. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So that shows you the period of time from 10 a.m. to 7 a.m. is when they are wanting that extra time
Mhm.
to have the amplified music.
Yes.
I just wanted to bring that to the council's attention there. And your concern is with the surrounding neighborhoods and
Surrounding
everything else.
neighborhoods and setting precedent for other events to request to have overnight amplified music.
Now, have you discussed anything at all? Is there, so far as amplified sound, the challenge always is enforcement of what's loud, what's not loud, what the actual decibels are. That's the challenge on it. Is like we're not gonna use it very loud, and then who knows, right?
Right. Yeah, but we're just concerned with the close neighbors to that park.
Right.
The karaoke and the different types of amplified noise would exceed the limited decibels.
Okay. Yes, Audrey.
I pulled up ordinance number 06-04, which is the noise control ordinance, and according to decibels, and it's based on receiving land use. So it would be the residential use, not how loud it is at the park, but the residential use nearby. After 10 o'clock at night and before 7 a.m. in the morning, it cannot be louder than 55 dBAs, which
Very low.
is very, yeah. My kids would tell you I could not speak at that level. I mean, that would be outside my.
I'm sorry, but we would probably tell you that too. I'm just kidding.
Okay. I mean, that would be something that, has been determined by council, as a time, place, manner, content, and recently you saw the case that came out on noise situation with the Catalano case. I think I sent it to council.
Okay. Well, council, I think that's the challenge. I mean, it's part of the challenge that's on the site. It's a wonderful event. Everybody is in favor of the event. But one of the challenges of this site is that it's right in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And so obviously there are going to be some restrictions that come with that. It just depends on what you're wanting that to be. Any opinion on the thing? Are you okay with them having amplified sound throughout the night with the assurances that they won't be too loud? Or what's your pleasure? Yes, sir.
Just a question. In the past, when we had it out at the YMCA, did we have the same restrictions? Did we have the same issues?
Yeah, come on up.
It was never addressed at the YMCA. We were allowed to have whatever all night long out there, probably because we were not really in a residential, densely populated residential area. I would like to mention, may I?
Go right ahead.
That all of our tents will be surrounding this area, providing a sound barrier, if you will. Many of our participants do go to sleep. Not all of them stay up all night. We will be aware of that, so we're not going to keep them awake against their will. We are not going to have anything on the stage. It will be down by the big tree, or where now the sound people always are for the events. It would be in that general area, but it would be only, we would be willing to abide by any decibel level that you determine. We don't want to broadcast beyond the tents. That is not our intention. We are very aware of the fact that this is in a residential area. We'd be happy to work with Councilwoman Simons to address any concerns that her constituents may have.
Okay, was it your thought after 10 o'clock, were you actually going to have karaoke and music playing and that kind of thing?
No, actually, our thought was we would have pop music in an iPod on a couple of little speakers.
All right.
Maybe some karaoke, but none of us, this is no alcohol and no event, so I don't think there's going to be anybody drunk enough wanting to do karaoke. Doesn't that take a certain level of alcohol? I'm not sure.
So you're saying you're not inviting me?
I'm not in. Yeah, you're welcome, but you have to abide by our rules, which is no alcohol is allowed on the property during the event, or tobacco.
Okay, let me ask a question to staff. Audrey.
Yes,
hello. See, I caught you. If council was to waive some or part of this restriction, are we allowed to just kind of by the magic wand, or is there something special we need to do so far as that particular ordinance, or is that ordinance written in stone and we're supposed to adhere to it?
I believe that the special event permits, you can modify, and I'd have to look at the two ordinances. I have the noise control. I believe you can modify for purposes of a special event. I mean, if it's something that mostly the residents of Nutting like it are probably the closest residency. You know, I mean, if they can deal with one night, for Cancer Relay for Life, remember content is, I'm getting in trouble for, content of speech.
Yeah, sure.
But let me check at the special event ordinance because I want to make sure on that.
Well, and here's what I would suggest, council, and I think that we're going to need to put some of the responsibility on you And what we can do, so far as there being a karaoke contest at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's not going to happen. Okay. Right.
I agree.
Are you okay with that?
Yep.
So what we could say is that after 10 p.m., I think that using a public address system to address your people there, and as long as you don't get a string of complaints, I think if the sheriff's department, and we'll try to work with that night, if we get a string of complaints because it's too loud and they come to ask you to turn it down, we're going to leave it to you to do that. But I think that amplified music, a band playing, a karaoke contest between 10 and 7, I don't think we can allow that. But are you okay with that kind of compromise? Is that okay?
Well, I'd like to know what Councilwoman Simons has to say.
This is the first I knew of this issue, but frankly, I don't think we should even be discussing it, and we should stick with the precedent that we have now, and then let's see if you get a ticket in the next day.
So it's by sticking.
It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission attitude.
I wouldn't want to see a vote on this.
Don't want to go that way.
I think you have an excellent.
Well, wait a minute. I have to interject. There has to be a vote on it because you have to. You're voting to either allow them to do it, which means they're going to tell the sheriff's officer, "Good day, sir," or you're gonna set some type of restriction.
Well, let me say this: if we have a special event. Yes, we do. She's looking it up, ordinance, which she's reviewing at the moment, our city attorney. And our staff is worried about a precedent that somebody else will come forward and say, hey, you let them do it, let us do it. And then we vote on that, which might be in contradiction to what we actually have on the books. I like her forgiveness, no permission, and just say, have a very nice event.
I would like to, we presented this to Laura and to staff. Laura presented it to senior staff. We knew coming forward, I should have mentioned it in the public comment, I forgot to. We knew we were asking for this without senior staff approval. And it was for that specific reason that they told us, we do not want to give you blanket approval because we do not want to set precedent. We want this, if it does come before council again, we want this council to be able to say yay or nay based upon the merits of the individual situation.
Okay, Audrey, did you have some?
Mm-hmm. I just looked at, in addition to the noise ordinance, I looked at the special events permit ordinance, which is ordinance number 08-16, amending ordinance 02-02. Sorry for being so boring, but one of the permit conditions is that amplification of sound has been justified and is established at a level acceptable to City Council for the event. If no sound level is established in the permit as a special condition, the applicant must meet the decibel limits as set forth in the Bonita Springs Noise Control Ordinance.
So we can set restrictions.
Sweet, nice, okay.
Yeah, so we can set.
So that lets us do it, right, Mayor?
I beg your pardon?
That lets us do it then, right, Mayor?
That allows you to completely ignore it.
If you feel the evidence is
or
justified.
it allows you to adjust it accordingly to set a different level.
For the event, so you need to be very specific based on this particular event, you know, with no karaoke, nothing, you know, after 10 o'clock. They can still project certain amount of noise based on what they're describing there, the iPods on the track that is surrounded by trees, and they'll still keep it at a low enough volume.
We will still have participants in those tents who want to go to sleep, like the teachers who are there with the middle school students. We do still, and the, like Citrus Park, sassy survivors of Citrus Park, they want to participate. They can't stay up all night. They want to go to sleep. So we will be mindful of our participants who want to sleep, as well as the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I just want to explain to you my opinion on this. One of the most pervasive complaints that we get is noise, is amplified sound, continually, every weekend, all the time, all the time, all the time. So what I don't want to do is go ahead and legitimize that, no matter how good the cause is, because everybody feels that their cause is just, whether it's their 16-year-old daughter's birthday party, it only comes once, you know, she's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things, and I'm not comparing that exactly to it, but I just want to be sure that we've done everything we can to be sure that the neighbors, because they want to sleep too, and so let's be careful with this. If we just kind of say, do what you want to do, I don't know who goes to sleep there and who's going to end up running the karaoke machine. So,
Council, if I may,
Go
I
ahead.
would suggest that the conditions of the special event permit be modified accordingly, such as no PA after 10 p.m., as well as no bands or karaoke. Amplified sound will be limited to the track area, playing whatever music, I don't care what music, focus just at the track that's insulated with the trees. They will have a decibel reader to make sure that sounds do not get projected over.
20
Arlene is saying 55. I'm
It's
thinking
55 dB for the rest.
Right. But
where
you can go
where
up,
at the property line? From any residence?
Nothing like it.
Not like somebody to nothing like it. And if there is more than one complaint, you know, they're to shut it down immediately, the sound portion.
Can you come to the microphone?
We have a history with this with another organization that has come every year, and they had a history of some noise complaints, so we worked with them, and they were able to use a decibel reader, and they went to the residential area by Nothing Like It, which is what we had measured previously as the most clear point, and so they periodically sent a volunteer from their committee down there to check it, and if the noise was going over that, then they rectified the situation, and that's made a difference in that particular event. I did want to clarify a couple points. At no special event since 2005 that I'm aware of has ever received amplified approval after 10 p.m. We did work with the Relay for Life for several years at the YMCA fields. Previous to Bobby Bird's assistance with them, there were a few noise complaints in the evening with some amplified sound and exercise classes. The American Cancer Society rectified that completely. They made adjustments. One of the adjustments they made was the changing of the stage location, the changing of the speakers. So they were never granted permission to have amplified sound, but they were able to maintain the decibel level to the neighborhood at that 55 dB. So they made changes to their layout as such. So the city did not actually grant them permission to have some mild PA announcements, which they did, but they were still complying with the ordinance because they were making the correct decibel level.
So we could actually just say, look, if you set up the decibel meter at a particular place, and regardless of what you do, as long as it doesn't go over 55 dB, that's fine.
Yes, what we could do is,
And that would
we could
simplify it. We don't have to tell them they can't talk or they can't
We
sing.
have worked previously with another organization. We've let them borrow the code enforcement. They signed it out, the code enforcement meter, and they would send a volunteer periodically throughout the evening. Their organization would to the Nothing Like It community. They would listen to see if the sound. But the other issue is that we did put that organization on warning that should the sheriff office get calls through that evening, that this would be a totally different situation the next year. The concern, I will tell you, that every single organization that has concerts at the park has requested to go past 9 p.m. The issue is if you go past 9 p.m., the music doesn't technically stop at 9 p.m. You have breakdown time. So if your event ends at 9 or 9:30, you're talking another hour of sound as the equipment comes down, the people exit the park. So there is still quite a bit of noise that carries that an hour past the end of the event.
Okay.
And that's the concern, but I will say, as a history, pretty much every event that has a concert has asked to go past that time limit.
Are you going to be pretty much okay with this if we make the decibel meter, make it at 55?
I wanted to give you also another point of reference. Chris Campbell and I went out and measured ambient noise, which means nothing going on in the park, standing at the corner of Old 41, and that was 68 dB. So it is. I think that was just the traffic going by. It was 68 decibels. Then we went and
Did we find ourselves?
We did. But what we did is we actually had Tektronix play some music, and then we walked over to Nothing Like It and started playing with some adjustable levels. So between 55 and 60 is perfectly acceptable, and you're still probably about 68, 70 in the park at that point.
Okay, Council, just to get this rolling, I'd make a motion that we allow them to go ahead and have amplified music, but between the hours of 9, or is it 10?
10 in the ordinance.
10, between the hours of 10 and 7, they are not to go past that 55 dBA, and that's to be...
And with the setup, they can probably easily accomplish that, even with having some light PA announcements and low-key music.
We're not going to specify what the noise is,
correct.
just the noise, period. Is there a second to that?
Uh,
Okay. Anything else you need to add to that, or we need to clarify?
Sorry.
And that's okay. No, you helped a lot. Okay, everything okay?
Works for me.
Okay, good for you. Good for you. Thank you very
I'll personally make sure that it gets monitored, and I would welcome, if anyone of the council wants to come down at any time during the entire event and walk over with me at any time, say, let's go now and look, I'll be happy to do that.
10 o'clock, I'll be asleep, so.
I'll be there. I'll be there at 5 for Don Thompson's Bagels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Everyone understand the motion?
Yes,
Roll
sir.
call, please.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry to make that such an adventure. I just want to be sure we get this right for you guys, okay? Good.
I'm great. Thank
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are. And I'm going to learn that song. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I remember. All right. Okay, where are we at? We at first reading of the following zoning ordinances.
Thank you. I'll do the first reading. This is a zoning ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, considering a request by CBS by the Bay LLC to rezone from C1 commercial to a residential plan development, RPD, to allow one duplex dwelling unit on land located at 26385 Hickory Boulevard, Bonita Springs, Florida, on .23 more or less acres, providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. The second reading will be held on February 25th, 2013, in these chambers, which is a Monday, starting at 9 a.m.
Council, will you move this to second reading?
Also move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh? Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Okay, what else you got?
I have another zoning ordinance. It's a zoning ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, considering a request by Palmera Residential Commercial Plan Development, RPD CPD, to deviate from LDC 4-934, Note 10, to permit multifamily dwelling units in conjunction with the existing 23,000 square feet of commercial uses located within the Palmera CPD south of Bonita Beach Road and east of Palmera Boulevard, providing for an effective date. This is a first reading. The second reading will be held on February 25th, which is a Monday, 9 a.m. in these chambers.
Okay, what's your pleasure, Council?
Forward.
You move forward. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, well, this is not for the people that were just here.
Indirectly, it is. It is,
Okay.
but it is a zoning, and the zoning doesn't have anything to do with where the roads are.
Right.
Where the roads are was approved by a land development order prior to this zoning, so it is not part of this.
So, to address their condition, that has nothing to do with this, but this doesn't give an opportunity to ameliorate their concerns?
A condition must reasonably relate to the zoning matter in question. In this particular case, the question is whether to remove Note 10, which was a mandatory requirement that you had to have a certain amount of commercial before you could continue building. This removes that requirement to have that additional commercial. And as mentioned by one person there, that is not an issue that is of consideration for them.
Yeah, and
That's not
actually
their
the
point.
residents of Palmera and
They're supporting.
in San Remo, at least the representatives there, they are cognizant of the fact that there isn't anything that council can actually do, that this is something that's going to have to be worked out between staff and between the applicant.
Okay, so does this give an opportunity to ameliorate their concerns by us saying to staff, I mean, help work this out between the developer and
Well, you can't use a zoning case to do that, but we've told them to do that, so.
Zoning, you must stay within the facts of the case and what conditions reasonably relate to that zoning request.
Yeah, I just don't remember officially telling him to do that.
No.
That's all.
Ma'am?
Yes, go ahead.
I thought the presenters here this evening left with the impression that they were going to meet with the developer and city staff and try to work out a resolution that fit their needs. So what I understood when
and
they
they've been meeting all along through there, and this has been this has been in progress for quite some time now, on and off, and it continues. And the demonstration here was meant to gather everyone's attention to it and to try to force the issue a little more.
And just
but to your question, Martha, we cannot legally use this zoning case
Thank you.
to force them to do something in that regard.
Thank you.
Yeah. John?
I was just for clarification for the councilwoman, as Councilman McIntosh indicated, he thinks that was the understanding of the folks left. It's also the understanding of staff is that we will be trying to facilitate some kind of a understanding, some kind of a compromise, separate and apart from the zoning action that's ahead of you.
I just didn't know that we were not going to formally do that, but okay, fine, thanks.
Yeah, it's been happening. Bill, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I obviously agree with the zoning parcel here, but I really think that I wondered if we had any progress with DA Horton, because my information as of tonight is that I don't know if the contact has been made about their situation. Where is it?
Could we do something, because I don't want to cloud the record here? Can we discuss this under councilperson items, and that way we can discuss the road issues and what staff is doing or not doing about it, and that way we won't cloud the record on the zoning case, because we're a little concerned about that. Would that be all right?
Awesome, good idea.
Okay, good. Any other discussion? And we had a motion and a second to move it along, and roll call.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons? Aye. Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilman Slack?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye. Yep, I know you won't let us forget. Okay, what else you got? Where are we at now? Public hearing?
A public hearing, now this is a zoning resolution, so it's a actual time to decide the case. This is a resolution of the city, I'm reading the title block into record. Resolution of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, considering a request by Bonita Oaks Square LLC for a special exception to allow outdoor consumption on premises at Tuscan Bistro, Sea Level, and Gatsby's within Bonita Oaks Square, located at 4450, 4480 Bonita Beach Road, Bonita Springs, Florida, and providing for an effective date. This is, I've reviewed the affidavit of publication for tonight's hearing. It is legally sufficient. You have the attachments, which includes the participant list. Only the participants are allowed to speak at this hearing at this time. I want to point out one thing first before we start, and that is there is in addition to the backup that is listed on the green sheet, there's an additional memorandum from Jennifer DeFola Hagen, and basically wants to just make it clear with council that we're merging the administrative into this process so that the indoor, that they can go ahead and just do the indoor instead of having to do a separate application and have to wait, and be allowed to serve outdoor but not be allowed to serve indoor until we have the application processed. So, and that the indoor administrative will be under the normal rules. And that's how normally it's done. It's done administratively with the normal processes in there.
Okay. Jennifer.
And that's for Gatsby's Pizza. It's a new business in Bonita.
Okay, good.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Planner with Community Development, Jennifer DeFola Hagen. Just want to say good night to my son, since it doesn't look like I'll be making it home to say that to him. So good night, Reed. Anyway, this evening, the request and the recommendation that you have before you today, and let me ask Doug also, Doug Grant is our applicant, to come on up. Doug. Any questions you can, do you need to?
No, he doesn't get sworn in here. No one gets sworn in.
Okay, thank you. Again, the request that you have before you tonight is for special exception to allow for outdoor consumption on premises, and it also includes a request for joint use of parking on the two parcels. Staff does recommend approval of the applicant's request. For the record, the future land use designation of the property is general commercial. The current zoning is C1, which is also commercial, and the current use is an existing commercial plaza with office, retail, and restaurant uses. The area location is as depicted here on the screen. This does, it is on Bonita Beach Road. I've highlighted the subject areas for the request with stars, but just for your general reference, the American Legion post is to the north. That does sit on C1 zoning as well. To the east is Bonita Beach Walk condos, also zone C1. To the south is bordered by, sorry?
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead, carry on.
It's zone C1 though.
Go ahead,
to the south, Bonita Beach Road, and also to the south of that is the Collier County line. And to the west is also 7-Eleven. It's a C1 zoning, and then it is bounded to the north by residential properties. I wanted to just throw this in. This is part of your backup, but this is a site plan that kind of basically is blown up of the retail center, including the parking, and the highlighted areas here in yellow are the areas for the outdoor consumption on premises. And I took some pictures the other day. Just I'm a visual person. I like to see what I'm talking about. So the outdoor seating for sea level is here on the side of the south portion of the building. And for Tuscan Bistro, it is a very nice addition that they recently did in 2010 as part of another limited development order to add this area here. It's a very nice addition to the bistro. So for the record, I just wanted to go over some of the conditions that staff felt was appropriate for this request. In general, the special exception for consumption on premises with outdoor seating is limited to the existing restaurant locations as depicted on the site plan that I have here for you. And it would be limited to only those areas. Second condition limits the service of alcohol beverages for the outdoor consumption only to the hours of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Friday through Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday. This does not dictate the hours of for the indoor consumption on premises. This is again just for the outdoor. However, folks can still continue to dine outside. This just limits the service of alcohol, just for clarification. Condition 3 is our standard outdoor live music or entertainment is prohibited, and I think we all very versed on the outdoor levels of decimals earlier, so I think you're pretty comfortable with that. And condition 4, is in regards to the areas for the outdoor seating cannot impede any pedestrian or vehicular traffic and will meet all safety codes. Condition 5 speaks more in reference to the joint use of parking. Again, this is an interesting site because both parcels are owned by the same entity, so they are asking for permission to use the others, their own parking, but this was triggered by a limited development order for the addition of the outdoor space for Tuscan Bistro. So with that addition, it triggered the need for 9 additional spaces. That was not able to be met on the one parcel, so they were able to meet that by combining the traffic counts for the entire retail plaza as well as the separate parcel for Tuscan Bistro. And that did require a joint use parking agreement. Prior to January 2013, that would only be approved with the special exception process. However, that is not the same now. You can move forward with joint use of parking. That was amended in January. However, this application was in prior to that, so therefore we're hearing not only the special request for the outdoor consumption, but also the shared use of parking to meet the additional 9 space requirement of the outdoor space for Tuscan. So 5A, B, and C basically state that a parking agreement has been drafted. It is on file with community development. Staff has reviewed it. We feel that it meets the needs of the hours of operation and the additional 9 spaces needed by the outdoor expansion for the deck area, and also that the city will monitor this use and that if any change in the future happens in regards to the type of use, whether it be a restaurant versus an office space, anything that would trigger additional parking, that will be addressed at that time, and that joint parking agreement would also be addressed or modified at that time. So again, another safeguard, if the parties of the shared parking agreement amend, alter, or dissolve this shared parking agreement, that will also have to be addressed. So just a little safeguarding measures for you. In conclusion, the nature of the request and the compatibility, we talked about this already, that the Land Development Code requires special exception for any outdoor consumption on premises for any area that is located within 500 feet of a religious facility, school, daycare center, park, dwelling unit under separate ownership. That is why the applicant is here in front of you today. The proposed outdoor seating area is in close proximity to residential, so we are looking at these conditions that staff did draft to accommodate that for that request, and any noise or possible nuisance as a result of the service of alcohol for the outdoor seating areas, staff feels would be minimal in comparison to the active commercial corridor that these uses sit on. So therefore, we've conditioned this request accordingly. Again, I just wanted to go over the hours of operation. On here, the outside consumption on premises, this states where the restaurants currently operate, whether it be outdoor or indoor. These are the business hours pretty much for all 3 restaurants. So we're looking at the difference of, not the difference, we're looking at the hours of 11 a.m. To 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday, and 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. Those are the hours of operation for inside. Okay, so these are when your restaurants are open.
Yeah, hold on. Do you want?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
That's not what the order reads. It says that Saturday and Friday and Saturday are 11 a.m. To 12 a.m. Is that
Yeah, that's outside.
correct? Outside?
These hours
But
that I
it's
just read,
different.
Councilman, are for the inside hours.
Okay.
And then we clarify here that the request for the outside are the following. So they are limited. It's okay, Audrey. Don't. We gotcha. So the request for the outdoor consumption would be limited to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 12 a.m. for Friday and Saturday, and 8 p.m. on Sunday. Again, that is very consistent with what is currently allowed throughout the city of Bonita Springs. So that's just protocol there. And again, this I kind of already went into joint parking. This was a need out of the additional 9 spaces triggered by the outdoor seating for Tuscan Bistro. And in conclusion, I mean, this request by the applicant does meet and is consistent with the goals, the objectives, and the policies of the comp plan. It meets or exceeds all performance and locational standards. It's compatible with the existing or the planned uses. It will not cause damage, hazard, nuisance, or any other type of negative effect on the persons or property, and it will be in compliance with all general zoning provisions and regulations pertaining to the Land Development Code as conditioned. That's a mouthful. And I'm available for any questions as well as the applicant.
Okay.
If you have
any questions at this time? Yes, Steve.
Jennifer, in regards to the Liberty Bank, now Encore Bank, they had some reserved parking. Does that affect them at all?
No, because the way that we looked at it is the hours of operation vary. So you have your normal business operation hours from 8 to 5. Most of the heavy uses of the restaurants would be in the evening. So the traffic it is compatible based on the needs of the retail versus the restaurants.
Okay. And do we have any idea when Gatsby's going to open?
They are ready to go.
Ready to go.
I had them in our office last week just begging for the outdoor consumption and timeliness of the Super Bowl, and I had to say, I can't do it. But they will probably be at the office at 8 a.m. tomorrow with their paperwork ready to hightail it up to Fort Myers for the alcohol. So they're ready to go.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Steve. Or Peter. Pete.
I saw in there 2 a.m. Do you really, they stay open till 2 a.m.?
No,
For the most
Gatsby.
part?
Which restaurant? There's 3 restaurants in question.
Well, I just saw till 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturdays.
That is for the option to be open per the their indoor consumption. Now that's
Understood. No, understood. I was just curious if traffic and number of patrons, do you normally,
Only Sea Level is open to 2 a.m. I would say Gatsby's and Tuscan are probably 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't serve. Yeah.
Question.
Yes. Anything else, Pete?
No, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, Martha.
Okay, so what is the zoning for what their business operating times are?
You're talking
Which
about
one?
for
When this was
service of
originally
food?
approved for the square, Bonita Oak Square, what was the original zoning for operating businesses in there?
I believe that's C1 zoning, isn't it?
The C1 zoning, but are you talking about the hours of operation for consumption on premises for outside
Yeah,
or inside?
no, inside consumption.
C1 has conventional zoning, so you do not have any conditions on conventional zoning. We do have alcohol restrictions in the city for all restaurants if, once they get their permits and such, is 2 a.m.
Okay, so they're allowed to operate till 2 a.m.?
I don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
That's up to the business owner.
That's our general law is 2
Right.
a.m.
I'm just asking, so they're allowed to operate till 2 a.m. any night by law? in
You're
the
talking about for
C1
a service
zoning?
of alcohol, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so the reason we have a special exception for a property like this is because it's close to the proximity of residents, so.
For the outside consumption.
Why would we, if it's a little special and a little different, why would we grant them the same opportunities as somewhere else? It just doesn't seem to me that, I'd probably vote for it, don't worry about it, but the hours are of concern to me.
I'm not clear with your
The-
question,
well,
if you can
but the
reword it.
question is, if you need a special exception for this, because a special exception says that the contours of the property or the conditions there are a little bit different than
Right.
somewhere else, proximity to residence, right?
500 feet.
500 feet.
But any outdoor takes
Yeah.
a special exception.
Correct.
It doesn't
Right.
matter where it is. It could be out in the middle of the DRGR.
Buck two.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, well, you know, we gave Johnny Malloy's one because it wasn't near residential, it was like a quick, easy thing.
Yeah.
But I understand that there have been complaints about noise from one of the establishments, and so I want to know from the property owner here what he can do to assure us, because, you know, in the past, we've asked the sheriff, and the sheriff office doesn't know what the zoning is, you know, or whatever. You know, what can we do to make sure that the residents aren't calling us at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you know what I mean?
Well, let's get a little more specific than that. The amplified music question. Is amplified music allowed outside?
No.
There's no amplified music allowed
Mayor?
outside.
No.
Mayor, let me tell you, but the doors are left open and you can hear it down the street. It's very loud. They crank up concerts on the TV with big speakers, and there have been complaints about that. So I just want to know.
That would be a violation of the noise control ordinance?
Yes, but you know, when you call the sheriff's department, you don't always get a response from that, you know.
Well, you can call the
So
sheriff's office for
neighbors
different
have
things.
there have been some complaints. So I want to know, what can we do so that that's not a problem?
And that's an enforcement issue to
I
the
think
noise
she
control.
was asking.
I'm
that,
asking
you know,
of the property owner what he
Go
can
ahead.
do to assure us that
I'm
that won't
in
be a problem.
discussions right now with Sea Level. My office, I sell real estate. The Coldwell Banker office is going to move. Sea Level is going to expand inside the building, so that would then allow them to have music without, you know, opening the doors, and so that's kind of in the process right now. But for right now, I just, you know, I've already talked to the owner. I said, you cannot have music outside anymore, because he did have music outside, and they are so busy that I don't even think you're going to see. I think at the end of the season, they will close for a period of time and renovate and add, and I think that hopefully will eliminate any future problem.
So they've had drumming outside to like 2 in the morning, and they've had the doors open, and there's, you know, the neighbors have called around to let us
Right.
know this is not acceptable.
I don't think that will be a problem
So-
anymore, because I
so when I get a
told them
complaint, I
that
can call
part
you?
of this, their ability to serve alcohol outside will be tied to the fact that, you know, there's going to be a noise ordinance.
Let's just talk about that for a minute and to
Yes.
get further to Martha's point. So far as the city's remedy, if something becomes a nuisance, I mean, a direct nuisance, and they habitually are cited or whatever like this, is there a remedy for that? Can you withdraw that license?
You probably cannot withdraw their zoning approval.
Not their zoning approval.
But you could make life miserable. You could go in court and try to enjoin them from even having any music. You know, because again, you know, alcohol and music is one of those strange ties. You could make sure that you have enforcement there on a nightly basis until they remedy the situation. I believe we had a problem with another premise.
And they were wonderful.
And they worked on installing doors, like a double door situation.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. That double door situation would be kind of an airlock, so to speak.
Right, but
yeah.
you don't normally require that up front. You
Right.
require it if it becomes a problem.
All right,
Well,
but
Mayor, can you
yes.
put a condition that doors will be kept shut?
you can't keep
Yeah,
the
I could add.
No, but they open them up so the music
If there's
goes out to
music
the outside.
If there's music indoors, the doors must be closed.
Yeah.
So that it does not interfere. I can write a condition real quick on that.
unless they're open.
Well, no, Mayor, I mean, they'll.
No.
I know. I know.
Except
I know. I
for-
don't want to
for
belabor it.
passing of,
Has there been any
guests.
complaints, let's say, over the last 30 to 40 days that you're aware of?
I'm
What?
not
What?
in
No.
code
No.
enforcement. I
we're
don't
not- That's
know.
right. None that we're aware of up here. But anyway,
Okay.
I guess the point well taken. right?
Right. I
Right,
mean,
we don't want it,
when,
we don't
when,
want it to be
when I
noisy.
went into the planning board on the 15th, I mean, prior to that, I would say about mid-December, I just told them they got to keep their nose clean. And I don't know if there's been any complaints, but I think they've pretty much been in line.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Any other further questions?
just the last thing is, you have Christmas lights all over the place, and those are out of code, so for the
Okay,
electrical
well, that's
code.
something, you can turn them in.
Don't want to be a buzzkill, but you might want to look at what you're supposed to do about that. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? And we're going to go to public comment at this time. We have two people on there. Is Ray Ambrosi? Ray, are you here? Nope. And then Sue Ellen Mathers. Sue Ellen, are you here? None of the participants are here. And did you want to add anything? No?
No.
Good. Audrey?
I would just suggest a modification to condition 3, and the modification would just state, the two sentences that were there would remain. And then, if there is music being played indoors, the building must be closed so that the noise does not emanate to outdoor residents in violation of the decibel limits.
Perfect, I'm happy.
Then you have
No,
a
people
violation
come
of
in
the
and
ordinance
out, but,
too,
you know.
right?
You can't.
But they can, they can work on that if that's, but clearly keeping the doors open so that the music is always there is,
All right. Well, you need to work with that language a little bit because you don't want to cause a safety hazard or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if
But
it's on
I
fire.
understand. I understand what you're saying, but you just need to be careful. Okay. With that addition, is there a motion?
I'll make such a motion.
There's a motion, and is there a second?
I would say there's a
There's
second.
a motion and a second to approve as modified. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
All right. Go let people have fun.
Thank you.
All right. All right, where are we at?
Not too
Items.
loud.
let me just add what a.
Just not here.
Let me just, for the record, make sure, I just modified the condition gently by putting if there is music being played indoors, the building must be closed or secured so that the noise does not emanate to outdoor residents in violation of the decibel limits in coordination with the fire district.
There you go.
Okay.
Sweet.
Now you're talking.
All right.
Okay. All right. Next. Here we go.
We have a first reading. No public comment is taken at this time. This is an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for the use of a portion of land owned by the city of Bonita Springs for a park facility. Lessee is Cafe of Life, authorizing the mayor and city officials to have executed said agreements, providing for an effective date. This is a first reading. The second reading of this ordinance will be heard on February 20th, 2013.
Okay. Council, you have any questions? Is there a motion to move to second reading? Motion?
Second.
And a second to move to second reading. Any other discussion? There is no public comment at this time. Roll call.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
No.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, and now we are on item 11, second reading and public hearing of the following ordinance.
Yes, and this is, and I'll read the ordinance into the record, the title block. This is an amendment to the Bonita Springs Land Development Code, Chapter 4 zoning, amending the old US 41 redevelopment overlay district to require a color palette within the old US 41 redevelopment urban core, amending sections 4-1152 through 4-1156, purpose and intent, overview of the redevelopment overlay district, standards for both within and outside the old US 41 redevelopment urban core that comprise the old US 41 redevelopment overlay district, providing for conflicts of law, severability, codification, Scrivener's errors, inclusion in code, and an effective date. This is a second reading. The ordinance has come to City Council in the past. The ordinance still has a few things in yellow, just so that you can see changes that were made in the ordinance. The LPA has reviewed the ordinance for consistency with the comprehensive plan. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but
So,
That's
community development's kind of throwing you in the fire here by yourself?
they're
Look
here
at John.
too.
John's like, really?
They're here. They'll
I'm
answer
right
them.
here in the 50th row. But does community, do you have anything for us? Any, want to explain any changes, conditions, corrections? Got a joke got a joke for us this late evening?
Do you want a joke?
No, I do not.
No, thanks.
Good. Anyway.
There's really, I don't have much to say on it. This has been an item that we've discussed for quite some time, and now we've reached the point where.
Has
thanks to
the
deliberation-
public comment pretty much died down to the point where you think you've got all the questions answered and all that kind of stuff like that?
Yes, sir. I think we've got a pretty good handle on it right now. I think a lot of the concerns before were issues where a particular color was not included on the palette, but someone really felt in their heart
Good.
that was the appropriate color for their building, and how would we handle those situations.
Good.
And I think we have the process in there to deal with that.
Very good. I think the LPA did a good job on this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we're to take public comment on this, are we not?
Yes, sir.
I think I would know that
This
by
is
now.
second reading. Please.
Good. At this time, we'll take public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to this ordinance, please come forward. Okay. Seeing none, council, what's your pleasure? Would you like to forward this?
Yep.
Make it so.
Adopt it.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion and second to approve. And any discussion? Yes.
Just one. I got accused a few years ago of, because I had a problem with live entertainment next to residences downtown, the Feltz area overlay, of being a buzzkill. That was the word that was used. And I just think this color palette is a buzzkill. It is for something like Savannah, Georgia North. This does not reflect the colors that are seen in the natural palette in Florida, which are beautiful pastels and reds and salmons and yellows and the sky blue. It looks like Maine, you know, or Savannah, or what can I say, anything north that gets cold in the winter. I'm sorry we're picking that. I think it really limits us. I think a color palette's important, but I don't think it's this one.
Okay. Thank you very much. Council, what's your pleasure? We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? And luckily, it's paint, so.
Change it.
Good, right?
I know all about it, paint.
Lucky it's paint. Roll call, please.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilman Slechta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
No.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Okay, and Audrey, you have anything else for us?
Yes, I do. The next is a resolution to create an administrative code setting forth the economic incentives for businesses. You have it in front of you. It's a very simple 6-page administrative code. It does list out all the incentives. It targets it and separates it based on those limited in the Old 41 area, as well as those citywide, as well as those that are targeted industries.
Make
So
a
it
motion to
explains the
approve.
process.
We got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Go ahead.
Just, I may have missed this, Audrey or John. I like the idea. On 166, it talks about, I'm not sure, does this include city employees or other paid EDC professionals?
Are you talking about the reporting requirements
No,
in
I'm
the
talking about the
statute?
incentives themselves. And
The reward,
The
the reward
rewards.
incentive specifically. Yeah, yeah. An employee of ours cannot be paid through this incentive.
It was not the intent that an employee or a member of the
Yeah.
EDC would be
I
would be
knew
paid
it
the
wasn't
incentive.
intended. It doesn't say so.
And it's likely not legal as well?
Well, it says city council determines who qualifies as a lead.
Well, I'm asking.
So we can exclude people right now if you want.
Well, I would think that city employees and EDC professionals should be, but if the EDC professionals things, it makes sense, I need to hear that.
Or are you referring to the EDC?
Yeah, anyone who serves
board
on
of
the
directors?
EDC?
I am talking about the
I think
EDC
that
board.
makes
Board of
sense.
directors, if they're the ones that are, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with that. I don't think any of them are in it for that anyway, I don't think.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I think Council McIntosh is a point, because they've agreed to serve on a board with a budget, and there would be personal gain from serving on that board with a budget, even though it's not like our kind of board.
So it would be any city employee and/or
EDC.
This brings us to our
City
economic
council.
board,
board of
anyone who sits
directors.
on the
Board of
board.
Board of
Yeah,
directors.
that's
Board
what
of
I-
directors.
That's
Okay.
what I'm asking.
That be all right?
Yeah, I also have a,
And mayor and council.
Okay, hold on. And, well, yeah, we're employees.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is a typographical error on page 167. It reads in 3.1, $1,500 per job created above the Lee County average wage, and then it says $1,000 per job at the 90 to 100% above the Lee County wage. Is that what you really meant? Or don't you mean 90 to 100% of the Lee County average? Did you mean really above there too?
it meant to be above the 90.
Yeah,
so
but
that-
it says above 90 or
Or
100.
it should be above 90 to
Right.
100.
Yes.
Instead of.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure it was clear.
Okay, 1,000 per job at 90% to 100%, and take out the word above, the Lee County average wage. Would that be?
I think above needs to come out.
Yes,
That's what
I
I'm
agree.
saying.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. All right, with those changes, did we have a motion and a second? Yes, we
Yeah.
did. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments
With the changes?
with the changes? Roll call.
Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Mayor Nelson.
Aye.
Councilman Simmons.
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons.
Aye.
Councilman Lockhart.
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh.
Aye.
And were we supposed to have a public hearing on that? Oh, nice. Come on up, talk to me about that, and maybe we'll change our mind.
Change it.
Change your
Okay,
mind,
4 of you
Rick.
can change your votes at any time.
At any time.
At any time, you make up your own rules. What the hell was I talking about?
The economic incentives.
Oh, yeah, is there a sunset on this, or does this go on for 100 years? How long do you keep putting out taxpayers' money to get free business to locate in Old 41?
Mhm.
Is that fair to everybody else in the community, that we give money to develop this? It sounds very much like socialism. If I don't know what a definition of socialism is, if that's not it.
Thank you. Anyone else this time?
That's not it.
I think the answer to the question, and we'll close public comment, the answer to the question is that it is not sunsetted, but however, the beauty of that is that you can stop it at any time you want. And a little commentary on what sunsetting is. Even when you sunset something, doesn't matter. You cannot bind future councils. They can make it permanent at any time, or you can make it permanent at any time. So sunset's just kind of a feel-good thing. But
I also wanted
it's-
to clarify that this is based on the budget that the city council sets for these
Oh.
programs. So you can, at some point in time in the future, decide not to fund the program.
So there's your sunset. It's budgeted
Correct.
for 1 year. There you
Right.
go.
And,
There-
and I
there you
want to
go.
point out on page 6, if you look at the application, one of the lines is, all of the incentives are subject to availability. I mean, if you don't budget it and it's not
Yeah,
available,
that's a huge
we don't
disclaimer.
process it.
It really is. 'Cause, sorry, we don't have any money. Anyway, yes, we just approved that. And did you have something before
Just
we move
real
on?
quick, but socialism takes money from capitalists. It doesn't give it
Oh,
to
we're
capitalists.
not even going to talk about that. But thank you
So
very
it's
much.
not socialism.
You guys can take it outside.
Thank you.
You guys can take it outside. Anyway, let's see. We're at item B, are we not?
Yes. And let me, this is a first reading and public hearing of the following ordinance. First of all, I've reviewed the title, I've reviewed the affidavit of publication, and it is legally sufficient. This is an amendment to the Bonita Springs Land Development Code, Chapter 4 zoning, amending Division 37, Subdivision 2, temporary uses, amending Section 4-3041 generally, amending Section 4-3046, temporary use of mobile home, amending Section 4-3047, temporary telephone distribution equipment, and Section 4-3048, ancillary temporary uses in parking lots, creating Subdivision 3, mobile food vendors, creating 4-3061, applicability of division, purpose and intent, 4-3062, definitions, 4-3063, permit required, 4-3064, general standards, 4-3065, prohibited locations, and 4-3066, temporary event use permit, providing for conflicts of law, severability, codification, Scrivener's errors, inclusion in code, and effective date. This is a first reading. The second reading will be held on February 20th, with local planning agency reviewing the ordinance on, it says February 7th, but it's February 15th. They amended the meeting day. This is the ordinance which you passed a zoning in progress. I can explain different comments, but I believe at this time, John Gucciardo is going to give an introduction.
Well, just to put this in context while we wait, Alexis is going to be giving you a PowerPoint presentation on this.
Come on, Alexis.
Just to put it in context, this was a city manager initiated item. This was basically grew out of concerns about this type of business model and how it might affect your other efforts with regard to economic development. So in that sense, it's kind of tied to the previous item in terms of economic development. There was concern about how the business model may have potential negative impacts and be contrary to some of the efforts that had been put forward. And in that sense, we decided to go forward to take a closer look at what potential regulations might be. And with that, I'll turn it over to Alexis.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. I have prepared a high-level PowerPoint presentation, and in respect for your time, if you'd like to bypass that and go directly to questions, I'm happy to do so. This just really summarizes the intent and some of the basis on our development of these standards.
Is there any way that you can do just kind of an overview on what, just kind
The
of...
meat of it?
Yeah, there you go. Just,
Okay.
Just go ahead and just do an overview of it. You don't need to go through the why, what, for.
How do I...
Yeah, that one you can
I get
skip.
that one.
I don't know what that is. Okay. Maybe 3. Let's start on 3, if that's okay.
And somebody makes a better door than a window.
Put 18.
Just,
We keep going down.
no, that's fine. Just click from current slide, and it should go into this slideshow.
I don't think I can see that goes.
Oh, okay, well, we can do it this way. That's fine. As John mentioned, the intent here is to create some balance with entrepreneurial opportunities that mobile food vendors do provide for the city, and also balance that with your ongoing redevelopment efforts on Old US 41, and supporting those brick and mortar restaurants that are in place. Okay, let me go. Okay, I'm good now. Okay. There we go.
What's the home occupation license deal? What?
I will touch, that's the next slide.
Thank you.
I'll get
Good,
into that.
good.
So we want to balance support of your brick and mortar and your redevelopment efforts in downtown, but also allow opportunities for this use to occur in the city of Bonita. We also wanted to get on the front end of this trend and prevent proliferation of uses. We've looked at various jurisdictions, actually over 20 in developing these standards. And I can just tell you, in St. Louis in 2010, they had 0 mobile food vendor permits issued. 2 years later, they had 29 issued. So these are popular, low startup costs, can happen quickly, and we want to be able to have standards in place to regulate those. And of course, with any supplementary regulations, we're looking to prevent view sheds, the public realm, and protect public health, safety, and welfare. Touching on how this is handled currently, the food carts are located in your non-store retailers group 3, and then you also have food stands in your restaurants group 1. So these uses are acknowledged in your LDC. There are no supplementary regulations in place to provide any additional design standards for those uses, and they are currently being permitted via a home occupation license. Where that use is permitted within your zoning district tables. So that's how the existing mobile food vendors have been allowed to go into use. And of course, vending at city permits goes through the special events permit process. What we are proposing through the regulations is an applicability section defining the various types of mobile food vendor uses, so it's clear in your LDC. Prescribe a permitting process which is unique to this use. Create general standards, location criteria, and also provide additional flexibility and leniency when you have special events. Under your applicability section, your code enforcement department did add some language after the LPA hearing to exclude mobile food vendors that are going to be stationary less than 30 minutes from this process, so they would be exempt from this section of the code, and that's to protect ice cream trucks, the trucks that visit construction sites and are there for 5 to 10 minutes and aren't intended to be regulated by this ordinance. We also developed an exemption for a specific property within your old US 41 redevelopment district. The property owner had put in significant improvements, which we've defined in the ordinance as $10,000, and we were able to develop language, which I believe he's amenable to allow that property to contain a mobile food vending use that's stationary, i.e. not mobile in nature, for a maximum of 8 years, starting at the beginning of this year, with the ability to renew that after 2 years. Again, this would, to our knowledge, there's only one property that meets that substantial improvement threshold of $10,000, and they would also be subject to non-conforming use regulations, meaning expansion or discontinuance of the use would limit their ability to continue on that property. Getting into the permit requirements, we've got a process now to replace the home occupation process. We're proposing an initial limit of 5 permits citywide. A mobile food vendor can apply for that permit. They can list 2 locations on their application, and this is again to encourage them to truly be mobile so that they can move around and constantly be in operation, just not in the same exact site. The permit would be valid initially for 6 months and then be able to be renewed for 12 months after that time, and these are on a first-come, first-served basis is how we've proposed it. Application requirements, we're looking at the photo of the vehicle, make sure it's in good condition and attractive. State permits, commissary agreements, an affidavit from the property owner. I believe you heard from Mr. Greenwood that this is sometimes occurring without a property owner's permission, so we wanted to ensure that's covered. Insurance and letters of no objection where applicable, which I'll touch on. We're not proposing to limit these uses in your commercial, industrial, and PD zoning districts. They would still be allowed as outlined in your zoning districts today. No principal use would be required on the property. This was per LPA recommendation. Initially, we did recommend that there be a principal use and these not be allowed on vacant lots. However, based upon feedback at the LPA and their recommendations, it's clear they felt that vacant lots would be a suitable location and provide the landowner some income while they're trying to sell the property. And then limiting the hours of operation from 8 to 9. We're proposing a 5-day maximum duration at the same location, again, trying to create truly a mobile food vendor atmosphere and not competing with brick and mortar where they're allowed to be permanently fixed for longer periods of time. Conformance with the city color palette was direct direction from the city manager's office. Alternatives to that could be softened to allow no neon colors, things of that nature, so that language could be worked on. And public safety in terms of no blocking rights of way or loading spaces. We're requiring 3 parking spaces per vendor, which is already in the land development code. Setbacks in accordance with your zoning districts, no alcohol sales, no amplified music, and no discharging of waste or wastewater on the site. Prohibited location is of specific interest, I believe. Every code we looked at did not allow this to occur on a residentially zoned property for obvious reasons. We are proposing a prohibition of the use within the downtown Old 41 redevelopment district for the time being until the economic development efforts can be fully implemented. We don't want to disincentivize the brick and mortar restaurants in that area. That's the intent behind that prohibition. We're proposing 1 vendor per lot to avoid a cluster situation. We're proposing 500-foot separation from the food vendor to churches, schools, and other restaurants. And if the surrounding property owner is willing to sign a letter of no objection, then that could be waived administratively by your community development director. And that is also very standard of every regulation I reviewed, these types of separation from the mobile food vendors. And then also 200 feet between vendors in the same general area. At special events, these vendors would be permitted in the downtown Old 41 zoning district under the special event permit process. There would be no maximum number of vendors permitted at the special events. They would go through the process that exists today, and there would be no limitation on their location during the event. So again, really creating an environment to support that use during your special events and allow for additional time frames as needed. So to conclude, we've developed an administrative permitting process to specifically address this use instead of trying to fit it into your existing code, which really doesn't speak directly to it. We want to comply with your long-term objectives for Old 41 and get those plans in place before we open it up to competition for your brick and mortars. Prevent proliferation, increased flexibility at your special events, and then certainly reevaluate once your Old 41 redevelopment is further down the line.
Good. And is that it?
That is all.
Good.
Yes.
Audrey.
I just want to point out, the point that Ms. Crespo is raising is everything dealing with the new Division 3. When we looked at our temporary uses, we did look at all of the temporary uses and realized we needed to update some of it to reflect our special events permit and some of our other permits. And so there are changes also in 4-3041. so that the time frame, everything is synced, so there's less inconsistency. Another change that was made dealt with the right-of-way connection, and that was based on Public Works comments, I believe. And code enforcement, in addition to the comment that Ms. Crespo pointed out of, I have to be careful because I don't want to say, the ice cream trucks and similar short-term folks, changes to 3046 on temporary use of mobile homes to be very clear. You can place a mobile home on a single-family residential in very, very limited circumstances, fire or a emergency, a real emergency. The problem was the use of the word disaster. Sometimes people felt things could be a disaster if they had an interior design failure. So wanted to make that very clear what we're talking about for disaster, because code enforcement gets some of those things. Brought in fireworks sales, so apropos with maybe later discussion. We do have special event permits for that likewise. So our the temporary uses were updated.
Okay, good. Council, you have any, before we go to public comment, do you have any questions or comments right now?
Ben?
Bill?
On the setbacks, at least.
Yes, sir.
What about residential?
That we did receive an email today from a resident on Hickory Island, and certainly I believe we're in agreement with that comment and can work that into the ordinance before we come back to you for second reading in terms of I believe a 500-foot separation from existing residential uses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do want that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Martha?
Thank you. Okay, here we go with that color palette again. I'd like to change that because the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile couldn't come to town if we said it had to match the color palette in Old 41. So
He's only there a half hour, he can.
yeah. Okay, so anyhow.
Just the bun. Yeah.
Yeah, just the bun could come. Forget that. Yeah. Okay, so anyhow, you get my point. We're talking about economic development, and then we're squashing people's initiative to go out and make some money. And I really think, for the small guy or gal, we've had these little trucks in town for years. There's corn trucks. I don't know if you've ever run across these guys. Probably not, but like in my district, they sell corn that's been roasted, and it's the most awesome stuff. But if we're just defining ice cream and the other coach, the catering coach, and I have a question about that, is that limiting these folks who sell corn?
No, it's it's the time they are there. Only 10 minutes. They're allowed to, if they're just
30
moving 10
minutes.
minutes here,
It would
whatever.
be any mobile food vendor that's less
Okay,
than 30
and then
minutes.
they would have to get a permit to go and do that.
No, they would be exempt from the.
And they don't need a commissary, right?
If it's, let's say it's the,
Let's say they just want to sell chips and soda. It's not cooked somewhere.
right, that's packaged food, that's
Florida
fine.
statutes governs who needs a commissary or not.
That's right.
So this would
Right.
not supersede
Okay,
anything
so
like
yeah,
that.
we don't want to do that. Okay, my other question, the color palette thing, I think we need to change. The other thing is churches, a separation from churches. But what about at churches? A church might be having a barbecue for its parishioners after services and raise a little money for the poor fund or something, and we're not going to let them.
No, they have to do a letter of no objection. If the church says that they don't object to their hot dog thing, they won't have a problem.
No, if they're selling hot dogs at their own place, they're going to have to come in and get a piece of paper to sell hot dogs at the church.
They have to show that the setbacks, that they do not object to their hot dog thing.
That you need to do something about that, about the
Oh.
churches. That's silly. Okay, and then or at the school, because they'll have like little fairs after school or something where the kids are trying to raise money for a certain project.
Well,
So anyhow,
hold on.
It can get silly.
Yeah.
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 Okay, and then well, there was how does this affect? This doesn't in any way affect like fruit stands that are already approved. And then the last one is the flea markets in town, like the Promenade and our Fresh Farm Market downtown.
No, it doesn't include any special event permit. It doesn't include, right?
Correct.
Right. And there's
Okay.
5.
Yes.
That's it. So far as what we're restricting, 5. So I don't know.
5 plus the one entity that's grandfathered.
Correct.
Now you got me there. 6. Okay, so I'm just saying, I mean, the extent of what this can affect, I think the magic number here in this ordinance is 5 or 6.
Correct.
I mean, that's the important number here. There can only be so many of them. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So, Council, what's your pleasure?
No question?
Yeah, you got it. Go ahead.
Just make sure I clearly understand. In 3063, it's 5 days on a maximum of 2 locations. Is that correct?
Correct.
5 days on 2 locations, so you got a total of 10 days and 12 months.
Oh, no, they would have to move after 5 days.
Yeah,
would
but they can move to a second location.
They could move to a second location,
For 5
stay there
days.
5 days, come back to their previously permitted location. So they could constantly be in business. The intent is that they could constantly operate their business 7 days a week. They would just need to have 2 locations permitted. Again, to keep it
Well,
somewhat mobile.
Does that really protect the bricks and mortar we're talking about if you're going for 5 days and back?
To add to that, we had recommended 3 days, and the LPA had actually recommended to be able to be stationary the full 6 months of the permit initially. And so we saw that as somewhat of a compromise based on that input. Certainly, most jurisdictions I looked at require these vendors to move. In New Orleans, it's every 30 minutes, which is pretty restrictive, but 2 hours, 4 hours, that's probably the norm. It was in response to the LPA recommendations. Certainly, it's the council's pleasure to, because again, these are intended to be mobile.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure that 2 locations, 5 days back and forth is really mobile. I mean, it's moving, but it's not mobile, as I envision mobile vending.
Yeah, and are they allowed to, when they say there's no hours of operation for it, they're allowed to park there overnight, or they got to pick up every day? They've got to go.
They need to go home. Yes.
Yeah, so it's not like they're parked there and they got to go and they can come back the next day.
Yes.
Okay.
Council staff tried to act to facilitate recommendations when we went to the LPA. If you wish to have a shorter amount of time for mobility or what can be stationed, that's up to council.
So you don't need a permit if you move every 30 minutes?
Correct.
Yeah, by the time you get the pot of beans on, I'd say like an hour is fine, and then, do you know what I mean? When you have one of these mobile food carts, people cook in those sometimes. So by the time you get your water boiled, you got to go.
But that's not somebody who is transitory. The intent is for like the ice cream trucks, I use the term roach coach because that's how I know of it, who comes to a construction site and is.
Yeah, the 30 minutes is meant for people
It's
who
not for
have the food prepared
preparation.
and they're stopping here and they're selling, then they're going to the next place and they're selling. Everything's prepared. The other one, for the 5 or 6 that we're talking about, they're going to have an actual kitchen and they're going to cook there. They're going to be there all day long. So those are the 2 differences.
Correct.
Well,
yeah.
I guess I'm not as concerned about that 30-minute deal as I am about somebody going back and forth in front of an established restaurant and selling the same food every 5 days. That concerns me in terms of.
Well, and you could make it to where many of these places probably wouldn't mind. You could make it, I don't know, any of them that are going to probably sell breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Probably none of them. I mean, I don't think. So you could make it 4 hours. You can make it 5 hours. You can make it whatever you want. That they can't stay there but that long.
I don't know the answer, but for example, we have a breakfast place outside of Pelican Landing. It's brand new, and that's all they do is serve breakfast. So, and 41 restaurants serve breakfast.
There you go.
So a mobile vendor sets up and sells breakfast. I think that's unfair competition.
Yeah.
It's a different experience, though. You go to your place outside of Pelican Landing, sit down outside, have a lovely morning.
Or I take it
you have a
home. I
server
pick it
come
up and
out.
take it home.
I mean, you go up to the window
I'm just
and
asking
get
that they
something,
take a look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't we do this? I think that we'll go to public comment here, but we've expressed a lot of questions. I think the timing thing is something that we can work on for. Bring some more options back. It would be nice to have like a little bit of a matrix. I know it's a lot of work for you, but there's a lot of cities who have learned what to do with this, and you've looked at those. It'd be a nice matrix to have about that length of time. Nothing really complicated, just what's allowed in what cities.
Certainly, that will be easy to prepare.
Okay, so that would be really handy for us, and we could kind of make a comparison about, Santonio, whatever we kind of envision ourselves being, and what they kind of use and what they allow. That way, we're not doing something totally outrageous. That would be handy for the next second reading. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good. And even with the color palette and all that, they could, if they don't care, well, they don't care. All right. Let's have public comment at this time. Thank you, Lexus. Nice job.
Yeah, that's 5 days in one spot. You go home to the commissary every night? Okay, well, a situation came up where the Brooks private parking lot pulled in a food wagon, put a couple potted plants around it, and didn't think anybody would see it. And we're running a restaurant right there in their parking lot. Under this new ordinance, they could do that again. If they got 2 vendors, they could bring one in 5 days and another vendor come in the next 5 days. But they got to go home every night. Can they have a food wagon at one of these private beach parks? Is that a C1 or is that a recreational, or is that in the mix at all?
Okay, and we'll get to your question.
All right.
Any other comments at this time? Please come forward.
My name is Phil Pugh. I'm the property owner of the third of a block that the current hot dog stand's at now, the food vendor, across from the fire station. Since I'm mentioned here, I thought I should tell you who I am and that I agree upon the ordinance and worked with staff to put the food cart there, permitted. I think we did a nice job. I know it's not going to be there forever, and I've agreed with the ordinance, and just hope that downtown will let me build something significant. Thank you.
We're hoping you do build something significant.
I guess we don't want the Oscar Mayer Wiener Mobile to come.
Oh, yeah.
Just for a while.
Heck, ours.
Okay, any other comment at this time? Okay, Rick, I think that the real, probably the savior to this is that change of the 500-foot separation for residential property. That's what's going to keep somebody from setting up shop there at the Brooks Park, I would think, right?
I don't know.
I'm just guessing.
A residential condominium, but that's C1. So C1, a residential condominium like that other one.
Actually,
where the restaurant is next, it's called C1, but it's a residential apartment building.
We'll look into it. I think that it's clear that staff knows what, we don't want anybody to sneak in under the wire.
And the language I have proposed on that is residentially used properties.
There you go.
So it would
Okay.
be not just the condominiums, it would also be the single-family residences nearby.
Nicely done.
They come in 500 feet.
Okay, well, let's work on that because we want to know what the purpose and intent is about, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, you want to move this to second?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? And you're going to bring us back that little cheat sheet, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Roll call, please.
Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Mayor Nelson.
Aye.
Councilman Simmons.
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons.
Aye.
Councilman Longcart.
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh.
Okay, thank you very much. Audrey, you have anything else for this moment in time?
Currently not scheduled.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to public comment, and then we're going to take a short break after public comment. At this time, if anybody wishes to come forward on any matter, please come forward.
Well, good evening.
Hello.
Kathy McGrath. I usually like to have fun stuff to talk about. First of all, I do want to again congratulate the Chamber of Commerce. I had seen that in the paper and actually spoke about it in the December meeting. But that's quite an accomplishment. And also, Bonita Springs Utilities. I was there last night at the meeting, and Jason Perillo and his cohort came from Orlando to make the presentation. And that is an accomplishment also. And I believe that there have been major cutbacks at Bonita Springs Utilities, just as other places. And we have not had the calendar, which was a very popular thing, and those glossy publications are no longer done. Okay, now I want to say thank you to Matt Feeney, who was our guest speaker at the Imperial River Conservancy meeting last Monday. Nice, short, sweet presentation explaining a lot of things. We all learned a lot. For example, this agreement that the city was required to do to remove nitrogen. It's, the first one is 5 years, 3,000 pounds of nitrogen. Now, let's face it, this is after years of neglect. That has to be done, and then it'll be done another 5 years, another 5 years. And he talked about the fertilizer ordinance, which, Martha, that was another one of your pet projects. You pushed and pushed. And I want everyone to know whether you do your own lawn maintenance yourself or have someone do it for you. There's no fertilizing between June 1st and September 30th, so that during the rainy season, all these nutrients don't run into our waterways. Okay. And we do want to thank him again because it was a very nice presentation. Thank you, Matt. Now, news about exciting events planned at Bonita Nature Place. We are working on the first City of Bonita Springs Film Fest to be held next year. The exciting part is that for this first festival, all film entries must be shot at Bonita Nature Place. The festival is open to all filmmakers of all ages, including students, hobbyists, and videographers. There will be cash prizes awarded at an Oscar-type red carpet event to host all the filmmakers, the winning films, and the public in 2014. We will be meeting at Bonita Nature Place on Saturday, March 16th at 9:30 a.m., and anyone interested in participating or helping are welcome to attend. And our thanks to Antonio Correa of Bonita TV. He's the one that proposed this. Muito obrigado a você, Antonio. Now, finally, I have completed my third session with personal trainer Mandy, my drill sergeant. She pushed me, but not too much. This was at the rec center, of course. And when finished, she handed me my marching orders, all printed out, which machines, how many weights, and it was a great experience. But being an equal opportunity, there's room for everyone. Our wonderful YMCA, I want to mention. We were all disappointed. Bob and I were major supporters when it first opened. Everyone was disappointed when it closed. There were major problems. But there were people here, I wasn't one of them, who never gave up. And now, I hope I don't butcher his name, Ken Mazlewski and the people from Venice, they've done a wonderful job there. They reopened last May, and if you haven't checked it out, folks, check it out. And here's my suggestion. This is what I do. I have joined the rec center, but I also donate a monthly family membership at the Y, and that way a deserving family can get out there, the whole family can enjoy it, so do it. Okay. And I have found that this is the best way to get word out, and thank you so much for letting me take your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time, please come forward. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break, please, and let's try to make it back here by like 8:20 if you can, please.